Chapter 1285. Deep within Gu Qingshan's thought sea, his soul vessel had manifested and was standing on one side, carefully observing the strike he unleashed. Although it was a single strike, it was actually the twin swords heaven and earth. Trillions of prayers drifted around the heaven sword, giving off a strange summoning sound. Countless milky white sprites of light emerged from the ground, crawling all over the blade of the sword, then manifested into unique runes as Gu Qingshan swung it. World Origin Runes. These were the various origin runes that formed the world, using the secrets of everything born within primal chaos to naturally manifest as runes. After absorbing the power of both the Soul Shrieker and the Era of Chaos, the broken world spirits were refined into the most fundamental primordial entities by Gu Qingshan's sacrificial sword dance. With their various characteristics, they once again manifested as the various laws of origin. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan swung the earth sword in his other hand and unleashed a cold sword phantom. He shouted, "All living beings, due to the power of the infinite world's laws, manifest their retribution." The ground abruptly broke apart. The Soul Shrieker's corpse flew out from the ground, disintegrating into countless gloomy shadows in the air. These were all the people who died during the Battle of the World of the Spire due to the Soul Shrieker's attacks. Gu Qingshan stared closely at the twin swords in his hands. One sword was filled with the origin of the infinite worlds. One sword was the spirit of the infinite world's living beings. And he himself carried trillions of prayers, using the living being's sacrificial sword dance to complete his final sacrifice. "This is the moment," the dry, hoarse female voice urged him. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan raised the heaven sword in one hand and pointed it at the sky. The earth sword in the other hand pointed at the ground and chanted, "Causality reversal, sacrifice of infinite worlds resurrection, complete." At the very next moment, on the land that was full of ruins, towers rose from the ground. Countless warriors appeared at the place where they had died, all resurrected, while the countless world origin runes on the heaven sword had all fused into one to form a pulsating, translucent ball of light. Gu Qingshan spoke to the ball of light. Because of the trillions of prayers and the Demon King's descent, the laws of space-time from the outside are temporarily unable to enter, but once the sacrificial dance is over, the laws of space-time and fate will definitely not let you go. Come into my eye technique. This is the place where you can recuperate and gradually grow. The translucent light ball seemed to be intelligent. After listening to Gu Qingshan's words, it nodded in the air, shrank rapidly, and rushed into Gu Qingshan's left eye. A line of glowing text appeared. "You've absorbed the remnant souls of the worlds to create a brand new world. Your world technique is changing. First, it was the Azure Dragon Shadow Hex. Now, it was her world technique. Gu Qingshan's supernatural powers were all undergoing unprecedented changes. However, he couldn't care less about these things. That dry and hoarse female voice was quickly reminding him, "Don't worry. Remember, you changed history. You changed everything in the past. You made fate, time, and cause and effect go against each other. This world cannot return to its original position. Otherwise, once the shock waves of the sacrificial dance dissipate, it will be erased by the power of fate and space-time. Then, what should I do?" Gu Qingshan asked. The female voice replied, "Relax, I'll perform a single strike to use up the remaining soul points. It'll also ensure your safety." Gu Qingshan then relaxed. All of a sudden, he noticed that his hand had been raised, grabbing the Chao Yin's sword from the void of space. His feet were moving back and forth as he performed a sword dance that he had never seen before. A brilliant barrier of light slowly manifested in the sky, separating this world from the outside world. "Senior, Gu Qingshan hurriedly said. Right after that, he heard himself saying, "It's fine, I'll just borrow your body to complete this profound secret dance. I will turn this world into a lone island drifting in space-time. You will continue to drift along the river of space-time towards the future until the fluctuations of fate and time completely settle down." Boom. The world of the spire began to shake intensely. "It's fine. The world has already left its original position and is drifting," the female voice replied. Following her words, Gu Shan saw various images appearing in the sky. This was something that had already happened in the river of space-time. Gu Shan saw himself wandering around the strife zones in one of the images, searching for a chance to become stronger. At the same time, he felt himself regaining control over his body. This time, you've completed the world offering dance and comprehended the fourth stage of the sacrificial dance. Remember, practice it often and try to rank up the living being. Sacrificial dance, the hoarse female voice told him. "Yes, thank you for your guidance, Senior," Gu Shan replied. The hoarse female voice continued. "Take care of yourself. I hope that you'll be able to come to the dusty world one day." Gu Shan was a bit surprised and asked, "Senior, I've been to the secret passage and reached the giant of beginning's location in the clouds. If possible, how about I go to the dusty world right now?" He suddenly felt a burning sensation on his wrist. Looking down, he saw that it was the twine of Cloud Atlas. The hoarse female voice spoke up again. "This twine of luck is the key to passing through the clouds and reaching the dusty world. Remember, you can only bring a single person with you, which is the original owner of this twine. Also, you probably won't be able to come for the time being. Very well, I'll use the last bit of prayers I have on you to manifest a projection of the future in your thoughts. To see what would happen in the future. Remember, don't die." As soon as she said that, the female voice stopped. She had left. Gu Shan suddenly felt himself floating. He looked down and saw that he was standing still with his eyes closed, completely motionless. While Gu Shan was confused, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, attention. Due to an unknown future technique, you've entered the Spirit Wander state. Spirit Wander. The soul has turned into a projection of the future, able to see things that have a high probability of happening or things that have already happened in the future. Although this was a bit of a mouthful, Gu Shan understood what it meant. Any time traveler who returned to the past would continue to move forward in the future. They wouldn't stay put and wait. A series of images appeared. The first thing Gu Shan saw was Su Sher. Su Sher was completely naked, lying inside a culture tank filled with a transparent liquid, and fell into a deep slumber. She was evolving. While Gu Shan was watching, a faint image suddenly appeared from Su Sher's body. Her soul flew out from her body, looking at Gu Shan with a shy expression. She flew up, held Gu Shan's image in both hands, and kissed it from afar. "I'll be waiting for you." She opened her mouth and silently spoke. The image quickly flew away. Before Gu Shan could reply, he had already entered another image of the future. He saw the eternal abyss, the god of life, and the devil king's sorry state as he fled. And then, the giant eyeball appeared. The god of life's tragic end couldn't even escape in time. The giant eyeball suddenly turned around and looked at Gu Shan's image. Gu Shan felt his vision go dark. The images scattered. A second later, he found himself manifesting as a figure again. A new scene appeared. The Wraith Realm humans had avoided the eternal abyss and were freely moving about the 900 million world layers. Since the majority of their fighting force had followed Gu Shan back to the past, these Wraith cultivators didn't run into any decent resistance and were always successful in their endeavors. Living beings were killed and enslaved like pigs and dogs. The Samsara world fragments were collected and taken away by the Wraiths. The scene changed again. The three Ghost Kings were having a secret discussion with someone. They had come to some sort of agreement, then performed a spell together to calculate something. A ray of magical light appeared from one of the Devil King's hands and manifested the image of a world out of thin air. As Gu Shan looked at that world, he felt it to be incredibly familiar. Gu Shan's homeworld. What are they trying to do to my homeworld? Gu Shan felt tense. The scene scattered and manifested again. The ancient world. All the black skeletons had disappeared. The ground was now filled with writhing black muscles. The giant corpse coughed up blood as he breathed heavily. He appeared to be on the verge of death. Originally, there was only a skeleton left on his body, but this time, numerous writhing black muscles were growing from his body. Strangely, these black muscles didn't seem to be part of his body, but rather had their own will. Although the Crimson Demon Divine Spear was powerful enough to harvest the writhing flesh, it could only barely keep the giant corpse's head from being covered by the flesh. At this point, the giant corpse suddenly noticed Gu Qingshan. Among all the scenes of the future, he was the only one who spoke. "You can actually see the future?" Gu Qingshan stared at him. Only his head was still visible. His entire body and even the bronze pillar were covered in black muscles. "What exactly is this?" Gu Qingshan felt a chill in his heart and spoke. "Hold on a bit longer. Once I return to the future, I'll come and save you." The giant corpse tiredly looked at him, then suddenly said, "No, don't come. The reality gate is about to be breached." Gu Qingshan froze. The giant corpse continued. "The future is only death. Other than that, there is nothing else live in the past." Gu Qingshan never reached the future. The scene scattered and reformed in the light. The final scene appeared. Xie Daoling was riding a dragon, flying through the endless void of space. In front of her was a woman clad in endless starlight. This woman was just standing there casually, but behind her, countless worlds were falling into destruction. Gu Qingshan's pupils dilated. "I've seen this woman before. Renedal. Who would have thought she would meet Shifu? No, that can't be right. From the looks of it, she was waiting for Shifu." Gu Qingshan's heart started beating faster. Renedal looked at Xie Daoling and muttered, "After countless years, I've finally found you. Now, you shall be destroyed forever." She reached her hand out. "No!" Gu Qingshan abruptly shouted. All of a sudden, the light faded. Everything returned to darkness, unable to be seen or heard. Gu Qingshan abruptly opened his eyes and breathed heavily. "You're finally awake, Qingshan." Someone patted him on the shoulder. It was Bali. "Yay, you're finally awake." A soft body leapt into his embrace. It was Anna. "Oi, we're all here. Pay attention to your image. It's fine. Big sis, Anna has been waiting for so long. What the queen said makes sense." Zhang Young-ho, Lola, Yi Fei Li. Another person praised. "Well done. That last sword strike was quite similar to when I was at the peak of my power." Without a doubt, this was Boss. From afar, a drunken voice resounded. "Oh, the most flirtatious man in the world has awoken. Everyone get moving. We're going to have a grand party tonight." The pixies also arrived. Gu Qingshan looked at everyone, at their expressions of either warmth or concern. He silently clenched his fist. The corner of his mouth slowly blossomed into a smile. "Ah, can someone give me a bottle of liquor?" He spoke in his usual relaxed tone. The strong liquor quickly arrived. Gu Qingshan raised his head and gulped it all down. Bitter, strong. Flames spread throughout his body. "Oi, you drank too fast," Anna worriedly said, then hurriedly patted his back. "To celebrate, I've decided to have a good drink tonight. Everyone must come." Bali spoke with a confident tone. "Yay!" Everyone cheered. More and more people responded. Bali looked at Gu Qingshan. "Do you have any questions?" Everyone turned to Gu Qingshan, waiting for his answer. Gu Qingshan went silent for a brief moment. These people, these lovely people, the future. That future, no. I swear on my sword, that future will never come. Under everyone's gaze, Gu Qingshan smiled faintly. "When have I ever had any questions about drinking?" Chapter 1286. Everyone was having a good time. After dancing to their heart's content, those who were familiar with each other sat together and played a drinking game. The rules of the game were simple. Everyone had to say one thing that they could do. If anyone here couldn't do it, they would have to drink. The long-bearded old man showered the crowd with sparks of magical light. "From now on, no one is allowed to lie. Let us begin the game," the old man happily declared. Anna raised her glass and loudly declared, "I'll go first. I've never been afraid of death." "Of course the death god isn't afraid of death. How sly of you." Gu Qingshan smirked. Everyone shrugged their shoulders, raised their cups, and drank a cup. Other than the death god, no matter how courageous a person was, they would always be afraid of death more or less. Next, Bali the old pixie called out. Bali raised his glass, thought for a bit, then said, I've never been afraid of dying when I'm fighting. Other than Anna, everyone raised their glasses again. It couldn't be helped. They had a drink. They drank it all at once. Yi Fei Li put his glass down. His face was a bit flushed. He couldn't hold his liquor well. Oi, oi, oi. It's fine if you don't allow us to use our abilities to sober up, but it's not good for you to be so aggressive. You can't make everyone drink every time he protested. Now it's your turn. You speak, the long-bearded old man smiled. Yi Fei Li filled his glass and looked at everyone at the bar. He thought of something. Got it. Yi Fei Li raised her glass and declared, I've never liked men, and I'll never like men. There was a burst of laughter. The men put their glasses down and appeared to be waiting for a good show. Meow, Yi Ru Shi, Anna, and the other female professionists had no choice but to raise their glasses. That's too cruel. Yi Fei Li, Anna glared at her. Yi Fei Li giggled. Sorry about that. This is what makes the game interesting. The ladies all drank their glasses. They exchanged glances, seemingly ready for revenge. Let me do it, Meow said. She looked at Yi Fei Li and casually said, I've never watched those kind of romance dealer movies. It was quiet all around. Are you sure he saw those? Yi Ru Shi whispered. Meow crossed her arms and said angrily, Yes, I happen to know that he had seen it. The next second, all the men picked up their glasses and drained them in one gulp. Yi Ru Shi looked at Zhang Young-ho in shock. Meow looked at Bali in surprise. Anna looked at Gu Qing-shan in shock. Why are you here? They thought at the same time. Anna couldn't help but poke Gu Qing-shan's ribs with her finger. Gu Qing-shan asked, What is it? You don't have time to play with those things. So who showed you? Anna whispered. Gu Qing-shan said honestly, Fei Li is an expert in love. He said he could teach me and Ying Hao how to be in love. Hearing that, the girls silently turned around to look at Yi Fei Li. The atmosphere changed. Yi Ru Shi, it's your turn, the long-bearded old man called out. Yi Ru Shi replied, I never wear a mask to kill people. Yi Fei Li had no choice but to drink a glass. It was Lola's turn. She drank milk, but also wanted to join in. Lola replied, I never teach anyone how to be in love. Yi Fei Li drank another glass. The boss accompanied him with a toast. After another round, it was Anna's turn again. Anna replied, I've never been addicted to online games, anime, or junk food. Yi Fei Li drank another glass. Everyone smiled as they watched this. No one tried to dissuade or interfere. Don't joke around. Offending a woman is a terrible outcome, all right? Not to mention, there's a death god, a harbinger of chaos, a wealth queen, and a writer. The death god takes lives. No one dares to offend the harbinger. No one dares to turn their backs on wealth. As for the writer, when a woman writes, they can make you look like a bad pervert, making you the target of criticism for the rest of your life. Never to have a good title. That's terrible. Speaking of titles, Gu Qing-shan looked at the void of space. Following his line of sight, the lines of glowing text seemed to have awakened and appeared once again. At the crucial moment of the decisive battle, you completed an ultra-difficult sacrificial dance. This has been acknowledged by living beings and the infinite worlds, thus granting you a new title. Title: The Most Flirtatious Man. Title: Skill. That's very reasonable. That's very reasonable. Due to your unparalleled flirtatious charm, when you converse with others, you can activate this mystic-type ability to convince those who hear you that what you say is correct. Attention! This title skill can only be used once per day. Gu Qing-shan was a bit speechless. Compared to proper titles like Shunwei General, Ace Hitman, and Starflame War God, what exactly is up with the most flirtatious man? He couldn't help but equip this title, cleared his throat, and tried saying, All right, let's just let Yi Fei Li go. He's only 19 years old, still a child. Title skill activated. The girls were surprised. Gu Qing-shan's words are very reasonable. Yi Ru, she muttered. That's true. There's no need for me to bicker with a brat like him. Meow also nodded. It's fine, seeing as he's a member of our club, but Anna recalled a certain scene from the past. That unforgettable kiss. Could it be? That's how Gu Qing-shan learned it? Her face slowly flushed, but but she didn't intend to pursue the matter any further. The long-bearded old man called out, "It's Lola's turn." Lola giggled and replied, "I have 6,391 vacation spots in the Mystic Zones, but I've only been to 1,570 of them. As long as anyone has been to more vacation spots than me, they don't need to drink." Everyone raised their cups and downed it all at once. Damned wealth. Everyone's attention was diverted, so they began to think about what they should say. Gu Qingshan silently tested the title skill and felt satisfied. This skill was surprisingly useful in certain situations. He turned his gaze back to the void of space and muttered in his mind, "Show the previous notification." The glowing text in the void of space instantly disappeared. New lines of notification popped up. Frowny face, you've obtained the 1,000 Dragons Ancestors teachings. Your Azure Dragon Shadow Hex binding has completed its evolution. You've obtained the Azure Dragon Shadow Hex binding. Azure Dragon Shadow Hex binding. Any entity whose name is called by you will be restrained in place as soon as they respond to your call. Under this state, they will be able to parry your attacks, but they won't be able to move or escape. Description: if I call you by your name, do you dare to respond? Description: if you don't submit, then fight. Gu Qingshan quickly finished reading through it, her back slowly becoming soaked in cold sweat. No wonder the 1,000 Dragons Ancestor would get angry when he saw me billions of years ago. So I really did misunderstand the dragons. What rapping, what spitting saliva. Back then, the dragons didn't fight like this at all. When they call someone's name, they want to kill them on the spot. Chapter 1287. Late at night, a grand banquet finally came to an end. Even the pixies were a little drunk, although they were still clamoring for the next banquet. Their bodies were still honest. They laid on the table and slowly fell asleep. Bali stood up from the table and staggered outside. After a while, he had already regained his consciousness. "TCH, I think he's calling me," Bali muttered to himself as he leapt to the top of a spire. Two men were sitting at the edge of the spire with their backs to him, sipping on energy drinks while observing the world around them. Gu Qingshan, boss. Beside the two of them stood a woman, Yi Rushi. "I heard you calling me." Bali lit a cigarette and took a deep drag. "That's right. There's something I need to tell you," Gu Qingshan said. He looked up at the faint barrier of light in the sky, feeling the cool night breeze brushing past his cheeks, then released his inner sight to observe the living beings. Most of them were asleep. The wizards of the spire were anxiously observing the history of the outside world. Yi Fei Li was still vomiting in the toilet. Zhang Young-ho was holding a bottle of water and accompanying him. Lola was asleep. After little Meow finished drinking, it found a quiet place and continued to write its book. Anna emerged from the darkness of the spire and walked towards Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan reached his hand out. Anna held his hand and stood by his side, looking at the crowd quietly. Gu Qingshan then spoke up. "The sort of sacrifice that I used earlier had actually cost me trillions of prayers, so I hope that everyone can clearly understand that if danger comes again, I won't be able to do it again after that." Gu Qingshan explained Lady Fusy's situation. Everyone fell into thought. Gu Qingshan turned to Yi Rushi and hesitantly asked, "You're currently the strongest of everyone here. Can you tell us what state chaos is currently in according to your senses? How are you doing?" Yi Rushi replied, "During the previous battle, a large amount of origin power was absorbed from chaos, causing it to fall into an unprecedented state of weakness. All of the chaos awaitings have also fallen into slumber correspondingly." Yi Rushi snapped her fingers. A complete set of battle armor appeared from the void and appeared on her body. Her aura was brilliant, and it was filled with a majestic power. Only then did everyone remember that apart from Yi Fei Li, she was also a chaos god, and the strongest one at that. The longer they sleep, the easier it is for me to borrow their power. Gu Qingshan, you saved me from that situation. Yi Rushi smiled and continued. Anna and Meow are my type. I haven't made friends in a long time. So don't worry. I will protect these people with you. Protect these people together? Gu Qingshan smiled but didn't reply. He remembered the future he had foreseen. I can't just stay here and do nothing. Gu Shan continued. Now, let's talk about the order, Lady Blacksea. I'm here. Gu Shan, why do you still control the Demon King order and not carry my order? A pleasant female voice resounded. Gu Shan didn't answer and instead said, You can now tell Bali and Boss about your request. They'll be in charge here, Lady Blacksea replied. Very well, Sir Bali and greatest above the star crown. Please listen to me. The order is currently in its most basic stage. To prepare for the upcoming battle, you'll need to mobilize everyone to quickly evolve the order, Bali asked in surprise. What? Is the order still in its most basic stage? The Human Legion is the basic stage of this order. The next stage is the Myriad Races Legion, Lady Blacksea replied. Everyone exchanged glances. After carrying the order, my body has already recovered a bit, Boss muttered. If that's the case, I don't need to say anything. Everyone would probably go crazy to help you complete your evolution, Bali also smiled. He straightforwardly said, helping the order evolve is the same as helping everyone. Now that we're in a state of isolation, it's the perfect time to fully increase our strength. Once we leave this place, we'll be able to directly fight against the Wraith Realm. Gu Shan looked at Boss and asked deeply, I actually have a question. Why are you so sure that the Eternal Abyss will definitely lose? Boss replied, It's not like I can't say it, because the other party is a samsara. Perhaps you already know that the Wraith Realm originates from the samsara. This is a closed cycle world structure. The Wraiths themselves are powerful, so after dying in battle, they would walk through their Huang Quan, using a secret technique to extract their souls and place them into the bodies of powerful wraiths to resurrect. Gu Shan thought for a bit. That was indeed the case. Since the other party controls a fragment of Huang Quan, the deities that reincarnated from Huang Quan are all under the command of the wraiths. Because of that, the wraiths would be able to quickly resurrect and rejoin the battle. Boss sighed emotionally. Such an unkillable and unclean opponent. Never mind the Eternal Abyss. Even if all the deities of the inner plane were to resurrect, they would still fall. Other than that, they also have a few allies, for example, a world called the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. In fact, they even have a few secrets that the Abyss has yet to discover. That's why the Eternal Abyss had also researched a few countermeasures. Unfortunately, they haven't been put to use in time. Countermeasures? You've already prepared them? Gu Shan asked. We've used the power of the Eternal Abyss to create a new batch of abyssal forms. These abyssal forms have all the characteristics of the Wraiths, Boss replied. So, you're trying to infiltrate the other party's camp? Bali asked. Boss nodded. We've chosen a group of the most excellent people to carry these abyssal forms, then used all of our power to send them into the Wraith Realm, in order to destroy the Wraith Realm from the inside, Boss explained. That's a very good idea, Bali praised. But it's too late. All of us have returned to the past. The Abyss definitely wouldn't be able to stop the other party's attack, so it must have already awakened, Boss sighed. Gu Shan paused briefly, then said, Destroying the Wraith Realm from the inside is too slow. I actually have another idea. What idea? Boss asked seriously. Stealing Huang Quan. Gu Shan explained further. By stealing their Huang Quan world, they wouldn't be able to continuously produce wraiths anymore. Everyone was speechless. This idea was too far-fetched, but struck the most crucial part of the other party's power. Boss slowly digested Gu Shan's words, then asked, So you want to steal their Huang Quan world and fuse it into our world? That's right. During the previous battle, all of the worlds of the past have been fused into my eye, so I'm now a bit more confident in doing this, Gu Shan replied. His left, I was flickering with boundless illusions of worlds. The two-world techniques had already disappeared, but a new technique had also been created. If I can really do it. However, this matter is too big. It will definitely cause the Wraith Realm to retaliate in a frenzy, so I need to come up with a foolproof plan. There's also the so-called Tomb of Myriad Beasts, as well as the other secrets of the Samsara. How can I be trapped here? Your eye, Anna worriedly said. I'm only temporarily blind. The pixies have prepared a kind of medicine for me. I'll only need to wait until the world origin in my stabilizes before I can use it, Gu Shan replied. It was now that Anna calmed down. After all, the pixies' most powerful treasures were their healing treasures and offensive quipcraft. Boss and Bali exchanged glances, then nodded. Bali gladly said, "That's one solution. Once we return to the future, we'll be able to do so," Boss said. "We need to defeat the Wraith Realm as soon as possible. This might be the only way to force the Eternal Abyss to fall back into slumber. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable," Yi Ru, she said. "Then it's decided. We'll guard this place together, help the Order evolve, then prepare to steal Huang Quan in the future." Gu Qingshan looked at everyone and couldn't help but hold Anna's hand tightly. "No, that's not what I meant," he sighed and couldn't help but explain. The tragic scenes of the future were still vivid in his mind. If they continued to drift along the river of time, the 900 million world layers' only fate would be destruction. Destruction at the hands of the Wraiths. At that time, even if we return, we won't be able to reverse the situation. Not to mention, there's still the reality gate that's about to be destroyed, the dying giant corpse, as well as Ren Needle. She wants to deal with Shifu. Gu Qingshan felt tense. "What's the matter?" Boss observed his expression and faintly noticed something. "There are a few things that must be done right away. If we wait until we return to the future, it might already be too late," Gu Qingshan said. Bali shrugged. "But we're trapped here, unable to leave this world," Yi Ru, she added. "Furthermore, even if we leave, it's very easy for us to be erased by the laws of space-time and fate, because everything in this world has been changed, which would greatly affect the future." "That's right, but that's not always the case," saying so. Gu Qingshan opened his palm. The 3 coins lay quietly in his hand. Space-time divine artifact. The seeker of infinite secrets, the distorter of history, the key of the past, the traveler's fragment, and the space-time coin. These are the 3 true space-time coins that Magic Dragon left for Gu Qingshan before he reincarnated. Anna was a bit worried and couldn't help but ask, "Qingshan, are you sure you won't be erased by the laws of space-time when you leave?" Gu Qingshan replied, "Of course, because I don't belong to the past, nor do I belong to living beings whose fate is currently being changed. Furthermore, I'm not heading to the future." Boss pondered for a bit, then asked, "Which moment of the past do you intend to go to?" "The moment when the Wraith Realm and the Eternal Abyss had just begun their war," Gu Qingshan replied. Boss shook his head. "Too many things have happened at that moment, each of which determine the fate of all living beings in the future. If you go there, you'll easily be able to alter many of those events," Bali added. "If you do that, you'll be erased by the laws of fate and space-time right away. It's fine." Gu Qingshan looked at everyone and decided to be straightforward. "I've seen the future, and it's a future that none of us can accept, so I have to go. You'll die," Boss said. "I won't. These 3 real space-time coins have a unique power that can protect me." Gu Qingshan hugged Anna one last time, then turned to everyone else. "I'll leave this place to you all. Do not relax, and do everything you can to become stronger." He tossed the 3 space-time coins into the air. A glorious and mystical light descended from above, enveloping Gu Qingshan's body. "Everyone, do your best. I will alter a few things from the past, but that will continue to move forward along the timeline of time, waiting for you at a certain moment in the future. At that time, we shall once again fight side by side and eliminate all enemies standing in front of us." Before he finished, the 3 coins abruptly gave off a grand fluctuation of power. Distortion had been activated. Distortion. You may expend the corresponding amount of soul points to become the only person allowed to alter history. Attention. You may influence the course of history, but what you do cannot be related to your past in any way, nor can you touch anyone or anything related to your past. Otherwise, you will be erased by the laws of fate and time. Special attention. When you activate distortion, the space-time coins will lose their ability to travel back in time until the moment you travel through the river of time. At the very next moment, Gu Qingshan disappeared from the spire. Chapter 1288. The storyline for the 3 space-time coins had already been written. It was written right after entering the strife zones and talking about the coins. That was about a year ago. As for the distortion ability, it had already been written more than half a month before Avengers 4 was released, specifically in Chapter 146 of the Abyssal Scroll, Key of the Past. Because of that, The storyline I've written is completely original. That's all. Thank you, fellow readers, for voting, tipping, and reading the original version. I love you. I'll continue writing the new storyline. Hopefully nothing else will clash with me. World Apocalypse Online. Let's talk about the storyline. Currently typing. Please wait a bit. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1289. The three coins broke through the torrential flow of the River of Time and brought Gu Qin Shan against the current. On the war god UI, his remaining soul points were quickly being consumed. Distortion was the ultimate space-time ability that required a certain amount of soul points to be used. Gu Qin Shan glanced at the war god UI. His remaining soul points were quickly being consumed at a rate of 900 per second. The longer one stayed in the River of Time, the greater the consumption of soul power would be. Very quickly, his soul points consumption had broken through the 1,000-point threshold. If it was in the past, Gu Qin Shan would have already chosen a moment to descend. But now, he wasn't panicking at all. During the previous battle, he had killed the Soul Shrieker, as well as an awaiting of the Chaos faction. The awaiting of Chaos was a powerful entity that had been hiding within the flow of time, preparing countless backup plans for the Chaos faction. Even Lady Fusey didn't dare to underestimate him. Logically speaking, this awaiting was so much weaker than Gu Qin Shan that Gu Qin Shan wouldn't be able to win against him. But Gu Qin Shan had trillions of prayers in hand. Combined with the living being sacrificial dance of occultism, she was able to kill the awaiting on the spot. And now, Gu Qin Shan had a total of 150 million soul points. As the saying goes, with food in hand, there's no need to panic. Gu Qin Shan was currently carefully choosing a moment. A perfect moment. The moment when the Wraith Realm had just appeared and was testing the waters against the eternal abyss. Within the rapid flow of time, countless monsters floated up and down, passing by Gu Qin Shan. As they saw Gu Qin Shan, they acted like they didn't see her at all, completely uninterested in attacking her. Because the three coins didn't just have the power of distortion, they also had two other abilities, Frowny Face Proof and Patrol. These were the two abilities that guaranteed one's safety within the River of Time. Countless images flashed through Gu Qin Shan's eyes. The Eternal Abyss and the Wraith Realm had engaged in numerous battles. But where was the source of all these battles? Gu Qin Shan continued forward. He had to find that source and enter the Wraith Realm from there. As he continued to move forward, Gu Qin Shan could even see himself and his friends in the distance. At a certain moment, two lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, Frowny Face Attention. The laws of fate, time, and space have sensed your existence. The seal of the three great laws has already descended upon your body. As these lines of words appeared, Gu Qin Shan suddenly felt a sense of rejection from the River of Time. He clearly felt a bone-piercing chill. It was a kind of omen that could not be put into words. If he wanted to enter a certain time or space, he would immediately be erased. War God UI, what's going on? Gu Qin Shan asked. 200. No, 500 soul points disappeared. Gu Qin Shan's eyelids twitched, but she endured it and didn't say anything. This was a critical moment, and he had plenty of soul power, so it was better not to be too calculative about some things. The next second, new notifications kept popping up on the war god UI, Frowny Face. Due to distortion, there are currently two you existing at the same time. The you of the past has returned from the age of old and is currently in the 900 million world layers. Following this, you will meet up with Lola, meet the greatest above the Star Crown, then dance with your companions in the Bramble Bird Kingdom. In other words, the you of the past will begin to search for Lady Black Sea. The you of the past will influence the fate of the 900 million world layers with every word and action you make. Because of that, the you of the past will be closely related to you. In accordance with the rules of distortion, the following conclusions have been drawn. As soon as you enter the 900 million world layers, you will be in contact with the people and events that are related to you in the current timeline. You will be erased right away, Gu Qin Shan sighed. Indeed, according to distortion, I can't touch anything that my past self is currently experiencing. I can't return to the 900 million world layers. That's quite harsh, but there are still other considerations. Gu Qing asked again. Then what if I meet someone I know in the Wraith realm? For example, that Wraith might Song Wu Zhang? 500 soul points disappeared in an instant. The war god Ui replied. The laws of time, space, and fate have sealed off the 900 million world layers, preventing you from entering again. In other words, on the other side of the fate and space-time seal is an unknown location outside of the 900 million world layers. As the only person allowed to alter history, you can alter both people and events that aren't part of the 900 million world layers. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised, but then smiled. Then that's easy to deal with, he muttered. After explaining so much, it's actually just a single sentence. As long as I don't return to the 900 million world layers, I can do whatever I want. Who would have thought the ultimate power of the 3 space-time coins would be so overwhelming? Gu Qingshan was a bit hesitant. For some reason, he felt that these 3 coins were a bit too powerful. Now that he thought about it, these 3 coins had many titles, one of which was Fragment of the Traveler's Artifact. If it's a fragment, then what is the complete Traveler's Artifact? Where do I go? Gu Qingshan sighed and stopped himself from thinking about it any further. For living beings, the void hides countless secrets, and finding out about these secrets might bring unimaginable dangers. What I need to do right now isn't to find out the secrets of the void, but rather find out the truth behind the Wraith realm, change their history, and conveniently steal their Huang Quan world. This is what I should be doing right now. Gu Qingshan regained his composure and looked into the torrent of time in front of him. This place was located at a very distant point in the past. Battles between the Eternal Abyss and the Wraith realm were already very rare, but whenever they did, they would always be a full-out battle. Each of these battles was a large-scale battle, each of them incredibly desperate. There's no mistaking it. This was most likely the point at which the 2 sides of the war first came into contact. Gu Qingshan carefully observed and wandered back and forth within the river of time, trying to find a suitable entry point. That's right, this is the right place, he muttered. Finally, he found the right moment and prepared to enter that space-time. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god, UI, frowny face attention. Once you've chosen a point of entry, you can no longer redo it. The power of the 3 space-time coins will completely disappear at this point of time. You must begin everything from this point of entry, living all the way until that point in the future. Only then will the 3 coins begin to regain their power, because you came from the temporal oasis, the world of the spire. The future you need to arrive at will be the future that the isolated world of the spire will arrive at. Have you truly decided to begin from this point of entry? Gu Qingshan stared at the scene of the battlefield and silently chuckled. He held the 3 coins tightly and entered that space-time. Outside the 900 million world layers, the space vortex, an unknown battlefield. The cruel war was still ongoing, but it was also slowly approaching its end. The corpses on the ground were pushed aside. As soon as Gu Qingshan stood up, he had already thrown a corpse into his inventory bag and turned into the other party's appearance. His sword Qi surged forward. Almost instantly, his body was covered in wounds of various sizes, as if he had just gone through an intense battle. The roars of abyssal monsters resounded from not too far away. I need to hurry. Gu Qingshan clutched his wound and staggered toward a certain place. It was a place that was being guarded by countless corpses. Every cultivator wearing Yiksha mask had already died in battle. But from the looks of it, they were protecting something with everything they had at the moment of their deaths. Gu Qingshan rushed forward and pulled an unconscious man out from the pile of corpses. There was a pile of broken treasures next to him. From what Gu Qingshan saw in the river of time, everyone was protecting him. He was a big shot, and he wasn't dead yet. Hurry up and wake up. Gu Qingshan slapped his face. The other party was still unconscious, completely unmoved. Not too far away, the footsteps of the abyssal monsters were getting louder and louder, causing the ground to tremble. They're coming. If I'm surrounded by these abyssal monsters, I'll be in deep trouble. Gu Qingshan was panicking. He grabbed the other party's collar with one hand while fanning his bow with the other. Hurry, sir. We need to run. Otherwise, we're going to die," he shouted while fanning his bow. "Ugh," the other party moaned in pain. "It's working." But before he could open his eyes, several abyssal monsters had already noticed them. Roar! The abyssal monsters were charging straight at them. Seeing that things weren't going well, Gu Shan carried the other party on his shoulder, quickly chose a direction, and ran away. He was running while the monsters chased after him. The distance between them was gradually closing. Gu Shan's heart sank. He disguised himself as an inconspicuous warrior and saved a guy with an illustrious identity, which means this is the best chance to sneak in during this entire campaign. Is this guy's wounds so severe that he can't even wake up? That's not good. While Gu Shan was thinking, a voice came from behind him. "Shaoli Zi. Thank you for saving me, Shaoli Zi." What kind of address is that? It sounds like some kind of servant. Fine, being a servant is better than being noticed. That's good. The last time I went to the suspended world, because I disguised myself as Qi Yin, I had to face off against the VIPs of my sect as soon as I arrived. It was almost like walking on a tightrope before I barely made it through. That was truly tiring. Gu Shan calmed down a bit, changed the topic, and said in a low voice, "Look, they're coming." "Yeah," the other party replied, then slowly sighed emotionally. I was too careless this time. I didn't think the abyssal monsters would be this fierce. If I had known, I wouldn't have come. This is war. And you said you wouldn't have come if you knew?" Gu Shan suddenly realized something was wrong. The other party spoke with a regretful tone. "Just now, they came too quickly, so I wanted to try my hand again, but I almost lost my life." The person on his back seemed to have taken something out and muttered something. All of a sudden, a strange power fluctuation drifted around their bodies. The other party said, "Not good, Shaoli Zi. We can't stay here any longer. We need to return to the Tomb of Myriad Beasts right away." 1. The Tomb of Myriad Beasts? Gu Shan opened his eyes wide, but before he could say a single word, all the power had converged to form a spatial warp technique. The void of space split apart as a screen of light flashed past. Instantly, both Gu Shan and the person on his back disappeared from the battlefield. Roar! Seeing their enemies fleeing, the abyssal monsters couldn't help but roar in anger. After chasing for so long, the enemy had already escaped. This was truly depressing. They turned to leave, preparing to unleash their fury on their other enemies. Chapter 1290. A faint flash of light. Two young men appeared from the void of space and landed on the ground. "We're finally safe. It's currently daytime. We'll rest here until nightfall before returning." One of the young men spoke with a commanding tone. He took off his armor, changed into a red robe, then took out a set of bedding and laid it out on the ground. The other young man responded. He held a longbow in his hand and looked around vigilantly. The red-robed young man comfortably sat on it and waved his hand. "Shaoli, we've returned. There's no need to be too cautious. Come, make me a pot of tea." The young man called Shaoli was wearing a set of broken armor, wielding a bow, and stood still without moving. Gu Shan had put on all of the corpse's equipment and indeed knew how to make tea, and it wasn't a bad one at that. But he didn't know what kind of tea she wanted to drink. A breath's worth of time passed. He opened his mouth and spoke. "I'm coming, but I saw that you were struck in the head by a monster earlier. That's why you fell unconscious. Does your head still hurt?" This was the truth. The red-robed young man's helmet was broken by the monster, and he fell unconscious from the intense impact. The young man was surprised. Seeing Shaoli's concerned expression, he couldn't help but stroke his head. "Now that you mention it, I do feel a bit of pain in my head," the young man muttered. "Do you need some medicine?" Gu Shan asked. "No need." The young man waved his hand and pridefully spoke. "Such a small wound isn't going to do anything to me." Bam! An autumn-clear blue sword appeared from behind his back and swiftly struck the back of his neck. As soon as the sword struck him, a few glows of light appeared around the young man's body in an attempt to protect him. But the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword had the power to cut any law, so no protective technique could stop it. The young man trembled a bit before falling unconscious on the bedding. The sword turned back into Shanu and muttered, "Your guard is too weak. That means this place is very safe. Gu Shan shrugged. This was a dark and silent cave. The ground was clean without a single speck of dust. The entrance was locked by a faint light, apparently unable to leave. Gu Shan was not in a hurry to look around. She walked forward and placed her hand on the boy's forehead. Soul-searching art, activate. Scenes after scenes appeared in Gu Shan's mind, allowing him to quickly understand everything about the youth. Gu Shan's brows gradually relaxed. After half an incense stick of time, the youth slowly woke up as he smelled the fragrance of the tea. What a great sleep. No, I must have fainted. He raised his head abruptly. He saw that Gu Shan had already brewed the tea and was sitting at the side, looking at him worriedly. The young man checked the amulets and treasures he had on him. Everything was fine. It couldn't have been someone else's attack. I fainted. How long have I been unconscious? The youth accepted the truth and asked, about the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. Young master, please drink some tea first. Gu Shan filled up the teacup. The young man took the teacup and drank it in one gulp. Little Li, you are indeed loyal. You are the one who saved me in the end. I will remember this. He patted Gu Shan's shoulder and said, no need to worry about it, young master. On the other hand, the wound on your head should be treated as soon as possible, Gu Shan said. The young man seemed a bit embarrassed. After all, he just said that he was fine, then fainted. It's fine. It's just a small problem. Now make something to eat. I don't want to eat dry rations, the young man said. Yes. Gu Shan took out the ingredients and prepared them according to the information in the other party's memories. Compared to the cultivation world, this world's cooking skills were relatively simple. Gu Shan had only seen them in his memory, but she had already grasped most of them. A few moments later, the meal was ready. The young man had a good meal. Today's food was still the same, but for some reason, he felt that it was a bit more fragrant than usual. Gu Shan waited until the young man finished eating before eating his own. By the time he had cleaned and tidied up everything, the young man had already sat down cross-legged and entered meditation. Gu Shan silently took out a bow and stood guard next to the cave. This bow belonged to the dead young man. After all, the wraiths didn't know that he was actually an expert in archery. Gu Shan specifically chose such a person to conceal his true identity. In Heaven Pillar World, the spirits of the infinite worlds had bestowed upon him the most advanced cultivation scriptures, among which were particularly outstanding archery, swordsmanship, and martial arts scriptures. He only needed to comprehend them to obtain them. Gu Shan also had the power of 3 dragons, so with this powerful foundation, it wouldn't be an issue for him to quickly grasp and master both archery and fist techniques. He himself had used a bow before, and after his soul was released, he even learned a bygone-era human martial scripture from Lin. Everything had been prepared, only waiting to enter the Wraith realm, but due to a series of coincidences, he ended up in the tomb of myriad beasts. Time slowly passed. In the cave, the young man was meditating, while Gu Shan was comprehending archery while keeping an eye on their surroundings. Nightfall. The young man stopped meditating. Seeing how cautious Gu Shan was, he couldn't help but ask, Little Li, why are you so cautious? As long as we don't go to the surface, there won't be any issues, not to mention, it's going to be dark soon. Gu Shan went silent. In this world, the surface was a place that no one could ever go, especially during the day, when the underground caves were the only safe places. Even so, the only safe place to travel between the caves was nighttime. Young master, it's not because of the surface, but because I felt that there was something fishy about your ambush this time, Gu Shan said. Little Li, what are you trying to say? The young man asked in confusion. Gu Shan replied, why were you led to the battlefield, then fell into such a dangerous situation? The young man, who was originally acting nonchalant, suddenly regained his senses as he heard that. Other than me, everyone else who could have protected you are already dead, Gu Shan replied. The young man pondered. If that's the case, then those who told me that the battle was grand and worth watching were all suspicious. Gu Shan silently nodded. Not bad, he's not stupid. He just didn't react in time. The young man suddenly touched the bracelet on his left wrist and took out a bow. He tossed the bow to Gu Shan. You've done a great service by saving me. I should have rewarded you after we return, but the situation right now is quite unique, so I'll give this bow to you first. Gu Shan received the bow and compared it with the one in her hand. Just from the feel and design alone, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. He quickly found detailed information about the bow from the man's memory. This was a famous bow, Gu Shan explained. Gongzi, this is the Eagle of the Moon, one of the 13 famous bows of our school of Feiyu. I'm not strong enough to receive it. Use it first. You'll have to return it to me when we return, the young man replied. Gu Shan froze. Hey, that's not interesting at all. At this point, the faint light at the entrance of the cave slowly faded away. It's already nighttime. Let's go, the red-robed young man ordered. Yes, young master. Gu Shan stood up and released his inner sight. Thinking of something, he suddenly turned around and asked the red-robed young man, Young master, how's your head? The red-robed young man impatiently replied, It's fine. Let's go back quickly. You lead the way, Bam. A long sword struck the back of his neck like lightning. The young man trembled and fainted again. Gongzi, Shanu's voice came from the sword. Hide yourself first. I'll take a look, Gu Shan said. Yes, the sword silently disappeared behind him. Gu Shan left the cave and stood in the dark tunnel for a few moments. A few masked, black-clothed men were rushing toward them at high speed. As Gu Shan smiled and was about to say something, the leader of the masked men had already ordered, Leave no one alive. Yes. The masked men shouted in unison. The smile on Gu Shan's face froze. Since they've already said that, there's no other way. He begrudgingly raised his bow. Leave no one alive. If that's the case, the longbow named Eagle to the Moon in his hand suddenly disappeared and was replaced by another dark green longbow. The Bow of Fallen Souls. This was the bow that Lady Fusey obtained from the Bronze Palace of Chaos, the ultimate weapon of chaos. Gu Shan raised the bow, held his breath, and stood still. In the blink of an eye, his hand moved like blurred images as he drew the bow. A series of thunderous noises resounded. The dark green streak of light flashed and disappeared without a trace. One breath later, everyone was hit, but a few managed to avoid their vitals. After all, it had been a long time since Gu Shan had used archery, so he needed a bit more time to familiarize himself with it. But he didn't attack again. The Bow of Fallen Souls carried the power of withering and source of corrosion, making it unparalleled in power. Desperate screams resounded one after another. Sizzling sounds could be heard coming from everyone's bodies, and they were instantly corroded. A cold gust of wind blew from the depths of the tunnel. All of a sudden, black figures appeared from the void of space, manifesting as a ferocious giant beast of darkness. This giant beast only took the blink of an eye to pass through the long tunnel and appear in front of Gu Shan. Despicable archer, I'm going to kill you, the giant beast roared. Pooh! A sword pierced through its body. The chilly sword radiance blossomed, and like a boundless and nimble river, it obliterated the enormous dark beast. Such a large-scale attack didn't destroy a single piece of rock in the tunnel at all. His control over sword phantoms could be said to have reached the peak of perfection. Secret Art Torrent. The power of the Earth Sword. Earth's choice. The clamor of the tunnel turned into silence. Other than the constant howling of the cold wind, nothing else happened in the tunnel. Gu Shan sheathed the Earth Sword. Although I do intend to become an archer, if you want to kill me in close combat, you're dreaming, saying so. He put the Earth Sword and the Bow of Fallen Souls away and returned. Since the matter has been dealt with, it's time to move. Gu Shan lightly pressed the back of the red-robed young man's head. He slowly regained consciousness, only regaining his senses after a while. I fainted again, the young man asked. Gu Shan nodded with a worried expression. Young master, look at your head, he stuttered. Don't say anything, I understand. Chapter 1291. The two young men quickly ran through the tunnel. In just half an incense stick's worth of time, they had passed through the long tunnel and reached a cliff. A large boulder stood at the edge of the cliff, with several large words written on it: Frowny Face, Eastern Desolate Grotto. This was the tomb of myriad beasts, Eastern Desolate Grotto. Gu Qingshan looked down, only to see nothing but endless darkness, unable to see the bottom. I'm finally back, the red-robed young man sighed emotionally. He leapt down, quickly entered the darkness, and couldn't be seen anymore. Gu Qingshan waited for a while. To show respect, a servant like him had to let the young master jump first, as well as maintain a certain amount of distance from the young master. A few moments later, an extremely faint warp fluctuation could be felt from below the cliff. The young man's presence had disappeared. Now, Gu Qingshan could jump. He touched the crude metal bracelet on his wrist, then leapt down the cliff. Intense wind blew past his body, giving off the sound of howling wind. Gu Qingshan quickly descended. Very quickly, a fluctuation came from the depths of the cliff, landed on his bracelet, and lightly guided it. The bracelet glowed faintly. Through this faint glow, numerous powerful thoughts swept past Gu Qingshan's body, then moved away, allowing him to continue descending. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. Those entities just now gave him a feeling of being invincible with just their thoughts alone. Although he already knew the truth from that young man's memories, he still wanted to see it for himself. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to observe his surroundings, only to see several large skeletons buried on the outer walls of the cliff, so numerous that there were no gaps between them. These skeletons gave off a fearsome presence, moving back and forth around Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan could clearly sense some sort of consciousness within these presences. He didn't doubt that if he lost the metal bracelet that represented his identity, he would immediately be killed by some sort of danger. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Gu Qingshan was enveloped by a streak of light, slowly slowing down until he stopped in midair. The surrounding cliffs were still filled with skeletons, giving off a terrifying presence. Suddenly, a light flashed. Gu Qingshan felt the world spinning around her. Then, the scenery around her suddenly changed, and her feet landed on the ground. A new world appeared in front of Gu Qingshan, in the peach blossom forest. The entire peach blossom forest was an entire few hundred steps in length. There were no other trees in the forest, and the fragrant grass was fresh, while fallen petals prowled about in profusion. Under the illumination of the setting sun, it revealed an expanse of tranquility and peace. Someone said, "Li San, you're really lucky." Gu Qingshan looked over. A young man with 2 skinny horses was standing below the teleportation platform. This was young Lord Zhang's other attendant, Feng Lu. Servants like them didn't have names. They were only ranked in the family. Unless they became an official professional, they would be given a name by the clan. Gu Qingshan walked down from the teleportation platform, asking, "My luck is still all right. Where's young Master Zhang?" Feng Lu said, "The patriarch's wife has just brought the young master back with a fleet of carriages. I'll stay here to wait for you." "Thanks." Gu Qingshan mounted the horse. The two of them urged their horses forward, chatting from time to time. "You don't know, but all the soul bones of those combatants suddenly shattered. Those were all soul bones worth thousands of gold coins, but they were scattered all over the ground, causing the entire clan to panic. What's even more miraculous is that young Master Zhang's soul bones were still perfectly intact in the Soul Bone Palace until your return." Feng Lu glanced at him and asked, "Li San, what exactly happened?" "I can't really say anything. Let's wait and see what the young master has to say," Gu Qingshan replied. Feng Lu paused for a bit, then smiled. "Not bad. You managed to escape death and learn to be a tight-lipped gourd." Gu Qingshan also smiled and said nothing else. "This matter isn't as simple as it seems on the surface. As a servant, I should abide by my duty and keep my mouth shut before the clan says anything. Fortunately, I've learned my lesson from the past, specifically picked out the most inconspicuous guy from the pile of corpses, only to find out that he was a servant. This isn't like the suspended world, where the Grand Elder and the Sect Master were busy killing each other in the void of space and didn't have the time to care about the young master. In this place, if I pretend to be a combatant, as soon as my soul bone shatters, my identity will be exposed, and I'll have to think of a way to run away or hide my tracks again. Although it wouldn't be a big deal, it would still be troublesome. The two of them continued to ride forward, quickly leaving the forest and arriving at a wide open space. A bustling city that was connected to all directions appeared in front of their eyes. As the two of them entered the city, they arrived at a large manor, where a steward came to greet them and shouted, "Lisanne, the elders of the clan are all gathered in the conference room. The patriarch and his wife are also here. Quickly come with me and explain the situation. Otherwise, you'll die 100 times over." At the end of his words, his tone was extremely stern. Gu Shan appeared fearful and hurriedly asked, "Steward Liu, what exactly happened? Cut the nonsense and come with me." The steward grabbed Gu Shan's hand and led her inside. Gu Shan glanced at Feng Liu, only to see that Feng Liu had already run away in fear, as if Gu Shan was carrying something that couldn't be explained. Gu Shan couldn't help but silently chuckle. Young Master Zhang's followers are only around the same age. When have they ever seen such a scene before? Never mind Feng Liu. Even Li San couldn't help but shout at him. He allowed Steward Liu to drag him all the way through the courtyard towards the meeting hall. All of a sudden, Steward Liu's voice resounded in his mind. The young master made a huge mistake. All the people he brought with him are dead. Someone has to take responsibility for this, Gu Shan hurriedly said. "It wasn't me." Steward Liu cut him off. "I know it wasn't you, but this is a very serious matter. We can't let the young master take responsibility. And we definitely can't let his brothers and sisters take responsibility. That wouldn't look good on anyone." His words became faster and continued. "Li San, remember, you're the young master's follower. You should step forward and help him out at a time like this. What should I do?" Gu Shan asked, completely at a loss. "Just say that you wanted to take the young master out for a walk and experience war. So the young master went with you," Steward Liu said. Looking at Li San's conflicted expression, his tone suddenly became gentle. "Don't worry. If you take responsibility for this, not only will the young master be grateful to you, but his brothers and sisters will also know that you're a responsible servant. You'll receive a lot of benefits in the future." "I understand," Gu Shan nodded. Steward Liu asked, "You already know what to say? Just say that I took the young master out. You're just a servant. How could you take the young master out?" "I convinced the young master, so he was tempted. As long as the young master wants to go, no one can stop him." Steward Liu patted his shoulder and spoke in satisfaction. Very smart." He quickened his steps and brought Gu Shan into the meeting room. "Patriarch, elders, the person has been brought," Steward Liu reported. Gu Shan looked back, only to see the patriarch, his wife, the elders of the Flying Feather clan, as well as the elders and clan heads were all gathered here. The atmosphere was tense and solemn. Young Master Zhang had a deep palm print on his face, standing in the middle of the hall with his head lowered, not saying a word. Next to him, there were two elders, each holding a treasure, having just retracted their technique. "Patriarch, there's nothing wrong with his soul vessel. Patriarch, there's nothing wrong with his body as well," the two of them reported in unison. The Flying Feather Patriarch was a middle-aged man with a dignified appearance. He lightly nodded to the two of them. "Thank you for your hard work, elders. Li San, come here." Gu Shan walked forward, knelt on one knee, clasped her fist and bowed. "Greetings, Patriarch, elders, and clan heads." The Patriarch smiled and slowly spoke. "I heard that it was you who wanted to take the young master to see something new. So the young master wanted to go out. Is that correct?" Gu Shan glanced at Steward Liu. Steward Liu didn't look at her and only nodded unnoticeably. Gu Shan then spoke. "Patriarch, on the other day, I was sent out to buy soy sauce and seasonings, but was called back at the last minute. I heard from a young master that there was a battlefield that had just begun, so he wanted us to go with him. So it wasn't you? Are you sure you're not lying?" The Patriarch asked. "Of course it wasn't me. My comings and goings should have been recorded by the clan," Gu Shan replied. Steward Liu abruptly turned his head and glared at Gu Shan. Gu Shan slowly continued. The corresponding items are still in my inventory bag. There's a seal on them for storage, so they wouldn't lie. He touched his bracelet, took out some soy sauce, seasonings, and cooking utensils, then placed them on the ground. The patriarch glanced over them and nodded. These seals were originally only used as a form of proof, but at this point in time, they were able to trace back the time the technique was used. The entire hall went silent. Gu Shan curiously muttered to herself. This kind of record is easy to find. This humble one really doesn't understand why the patriarch said that I was the one who brought the young master on a trip. Could it be that all of this is not recorded? The atmosphere suddenly became solemn. Chapter 1292. The clan master looked around, his killing intent almost tangible. So someone had already been planning to kill my son in one fell swoop. The clan master's gaze fell onto Gu Shan. This time, his gaze truly became gentle. I heard that you saved the young master on the battlefield, he asked. No, it was actually the young master who saved me, Gu Shan replied. The clan master frowned in surprise. He thought of a certain possibility and gestured for Gu Shan to continue. Gu Shan solemnly explained. The young master was courageous on the battlefield, killing countless enemies. Unfortunately, he was outnumbered and surrounded by countless monsters. In the end, everyone died in battle, leaving only the young master to fight against the enemy alone. In a moment of carelessness, he was knocked unconscious. I only woke him up, seeing that he couldn't do anything. He immediately used a warp technique to save this subordinate's life. The entire hall went silent. The elders all looked at Gu Shan with a strange gaze, then at young Master Zhang. Young Master Zhang was stunned. I only want to watch a show. Am I that brave? But he quickly understood what was going on, so he subconsciously straightened his back and displayed an expression of defiance. The Feiyu clan master silently paced back and forth in the conference room. His expression was expressionless, but he was actually very pleased. As soon as Gu Shan's words were spread, the nature of this matter would change. His son, from a person who was tricked into joining the battlefield, would become a brave and fearless warrior who led the charge. This kind of reputation was extremely important to the heir of a clan. The clan master stopped and sternly declared, regardless of how well this unfilial son fought on the battlefield, it was thanks to this servant who woke him up at the crucial moment. Otherwise, he would have already died in battle. That was the final word. This matter had been confirmed. As soon as it was announced, the young master's reputation would slowly be restored. Gu Shan lowered her head and kept her mouth shut. The clan master had already decided on this matter. If a servant like me were to say anything else, it would only be superfluous. The clan leader looked at Gu Shan and said in a low voice, Our flying feather race has to be punished for mistakes and rewarded for meritorious deeds. You have successfully brought the young lord back. This is a great merit. The patriarch's wife continued, That's the right thing to do. Chong Sui Li San, tell me what reward you want. Everyone looked at Gu Shan with mixed feelings. With just a few words, this brat had accomplished what the patriarch's faction had been working hard to achieve, erasing the plans of many people from the other factions. Gu Shan then clasped her fist and spoke with a clear voice. This subordinate has no other intentions. I only wish to join the school and serve the clan. This was the most crucial point. Gu Shan also pondered over this for a long time. To be chosen as the young master's follower, his identity must have been checked countless times. There was definitely no problem. What Gu Shan wanted was precisely this type of identity that wouldn't be suspected by others and could stand up to investigation. Only by having a clean identity and slowly growing stronger would he be able to win the trust of the various forces and VIPs of this world, walk to the upper echelons of this world, investigate the secrets of this world, and obtain more information. In truth, even young Lord Zhang didn't fully understand a lot of things in this world. In this world, if one wasn't strong enough, they weren't allowed to know too many secrets. This rule was actually a form of protection. That was why Gu Shan's first step after thinking for a long time was to join the school. The Flying Feather Clan master silently listened, then smiled. So you were a good man, but after joining the school, you would often have to risk your life, just like what your young lord did. Aren't you afraid of death? I am afraid, but this subordinate desires to serve the clan. This is this subordinate's lifelong wish, Gu Qingshan replied. This was the standard answer. In this kind of situation, I really have to use such a formal and standard answer. I can't just say that I, Li San, don't even have a name, and that only by joining the school would I be qualified to have a name. As a servant, I can also learn a few things from the school, but only a bit to protect myself. If I want to cultivate further and obtain more power, I'm sorry, but that's impossible. Hearing that, the clan master thought for a bit, then replied, You're someone who's been to the battlefield. You've seen the wraiths and monsters fighting with your own eyes. You've also participated in the war, so you're suitable to join the school. Very well. What did you learn before this? I learned a bit of archery and a bit of martial arts. Men, take Li San to the Flying Feather Tower of Heaven. Understood. Another person who appeared to be a butler stood up and gestured for Gu Qingshan to follow him. Gu Qingshan thanked the clan master again, then followed the elder outside. As he was about to leave, the clan master's voice resounded from behind him. Now, we should discuss who exactly was the one behind this, who tempted my son to go to the battlefield. Everyone. Aren't you going to speak? If you don't speak now, when I find out, don't blame me for being merciless. Violent, killing intent exuded from the clan master's body, filling the entire hall. Bam! The door closed. Gu Qingshan and the butler exchanged glances, then sighed in relief. Not having to face the clan master's thunderous rage, as well as the storm that was about to come, was something worth celebrating. This time, Gu Qingshan wasn't acting. As a cultivator who had reached Sumru Lord Realm, no one here, including the clan master, was stronger than him. But his mind was filled with warning, as if something terrible would happen if he really acted. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but recall the people he killed in the underground tunnel. After they were all dead, numerous black shadows manifested to form a ferocious monster that appeared in front of him in an instant. Those people weren't much, but an even more terrifying power was clearly hiding in the conference hall. That wasn't the power of everyone here. Rather, it came from the void of space or some other place, through some sort of projection or summoning, creating a unique connection to the current world that could descend at any time. Not human? Gu Qingshan slowly confirmed this feeling. There seems to be a wandering spirit in the void of space in the conference hall. You know it's there. It can kill anyone who tries to go against the clan master. Because of that, no one here dared to say a word. No one could endure the clan master's wrath. This is really interesting, Gu Qingshan silently thought. A few moments later, the butler brought Gu Qingshan to the sparring field. You've learned archery? Yes, shoot a few arrows for me to see. Gu Qingshan recalled young Master Zhang's memories, estimated the dead young man's archery skills, and shot. He shot a few dozen arrows in a row. The butler watched for a while before calling for him to stop. Not bad. To be able to train archery to this level at such a young age. You're quite talented, the butler commented. I've been training my archery every day, Gu Qingshan replied. Just now, he had improved his archery skills a bit from the dead young man's. This way, not only would it not appear too ridiculous, but it also allowed others to see his value. The butler thought for a bit, then said, Li San, you need to understand something. If you can't successfully spirit link within the Feiyu Tower of Heaven, you can only be a normal guard in the school guard. The equivalent of a gate guard. A normal gate guard. A normal gate guard. For some reason, Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a bit pressured and sincerely said, Please teach me. Uncle Zhang, for some reason, Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a bit of pressure and sincerely said, You're a smart person. You know when to advance and when to retreat, and from your archery skills, you're also very diligent in your cultivation, but there's nothing I can teach you about this. It's all up to fate. Everything depends on whether or not you can communicate with the spirit. I'm just telling you in advance. I'm afraid that if you fail, you'll take things too hard. He brought Gu Qingshan all the way to a heavily guarded tower deep inside the compound. This tower was around 5 stories tall, seemingly unassuming. But this was indeed the famous Fei Yu Tower of Heaven of the Eastern Desolate Grotto. Uncle Zhang stood in front of Gu Qingshan and spoke with a serious expression. "Li San, I'm here," Gu Qingshan replied. "Remember well, you saved the young master, so you should know your limits. That's why the Patriarch allowed you to join the school. I'll remember the Patriarch's orders. I definitely won't associate myself with those with ulterior motives." The butler nodded in satisfaction, turned around, and unleashed several dozen seals on the tower. After a few dozen breaths worth of time, he finally retreated while breathing heavily, wiping the sweat off his forehead. "All right, go in. Remember to pay respect to each floor. The Spirit Link artifacts are on the first to third floor. The higher you go, the more powerful the Spirit Link artifact will be, but the fourth and fifth floors are empty. There's no need for you to ask about this. Go. As for what Spirit Link you Spirit Link with, that'll depend on your luck. Remember not to force yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me if you die." "Thank you, Uncle Zhang," Gu Qingshan replied, opened the door, and went in. Just a few steps in, the door was abruptly closed behind her. Gu Qingshan didn't mind and looked around at the various decorations inside the tower. On the first floor, there was a raised platform in each of the four directions, each of them worshipping a leaf, a nail, a bone, and a remnant book. Following Uncle Zhang's instructions, Gu Qingshan first worshipped the feather. Suddenly, a powerful force came from the leaf and pushed him away. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Was I rejected? He worshipped the remnant book. Another force came from the remnant book and pushed him a few meters away. Then, the nail and the bone were the same. How interesting. I didn't think these broken artifacts would be able to push a Sumru Lord Realm cultivator like me away. Gu Qingshan silently thought as he headed upstairs. The second floor. There were 3 raised platforms in 3 different directions, each worshipping a rock, a drop of water, and a handful of soil. Gu Qingshan worshipped them, but was pushed away again and again. He begrudgingly went up to the third floor. This floor was divided into 2 directions, each worshipping a scale and a feather. Gu Qingshan looked at the feather and recalled the relevant information from young Master Zhang's memories. This feather was the origin of the name of the school of Fei Yu. If I can resonate with this feather and form a spirit link with it, I'll be able to obtain a unique power in archery. Gu Qingshan stepped forward and worshipped the feather. A second later, he was pushed away. This time, Gu Qingshan was a bit hesitant. Could it be that because I'm an outsider, I can't form a spirit link with these strange things? He turned to look at the scale. This is my final hope. If it's destroyed, I'll have no choice but to give up my identity as Li San and leave this place. I came here to investigate a secret. I can't just stay here and guard the gate for the rest of my life. Gu Qingshan took a deep breath, stepped forward, and lightly worshipped. His feet were slightly apart, already prepared for the push to avoid being pushed away too much and appearing too haggard. He worshipped. Rise. Stand still. I didn't get pushed away this time. As soon as Gu Qingshan thought that, the world in front of his eyes faded away. Within the boundless void of space, a certain gigantic creature appeared in front of his eyes. It was a gigantic humanoid monster. To be precise, it couldn't be considered humanoid because its face was still that of humans, but its body was that of a long snake's. This was a mythical creature from the age of old, but it was unknown why its figure suddenly manifested. Gu Qingshan thought of something and recalled a certain divine skill. Unbreakable mountain range. Could it be that I can resonate with this scale because I know this divine skill? All of a sudden, he felt a burning sensation on his hands. Mystical natural runes appeared on his hands, flickering in and out of existence, giving off a mysterious power. A line of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face, you've successfully resonated with the target and completed this spirit linking. You become a spirit-linked martial artist. Your spirit linking technique is Fist Arts. M. Chapter 1293. The resonance had succeeded, but the supernatural phenomenon in front of him still hadn't disappeared. Gu Qingshan didn't know what else would happen next, so he could only wait and see. The gigantic creature dragged its long snake body, completely still in the endless darkness. As Gu Shan took a closer look, he found that its body was nothing more than an illusory shadow. This illusory shadow was attached to some sort of reality. Indeed, the only thing left of it was its skeleton. From head to tail, its entire skeleton was covered in cracks. Many of them had already disappeared. All of a sudden, it seemed to have noticed something and looked towards Gu Shan. Gu Shan was immediately unable to move. Both his soul vessel and body were frozen. No matter how hard Gu Shan tried, he couldn't move a single inch. The gigantic creature slowly moved and arrived in front of Gu Shan. While floating in the endless void of space, Gu Shan was only as big as the creature's eye. The creature observed Gu Shan and spoke in a thunderous voice. "How troublesome, Devil King of Huang Quan, Mountain Lord of the Divine Mountain, I cannot let you die here." Following this declaration, Gu Shan felt the restraints on his body slowly disappearing. It recognized my weapon? Who is it? Where did it come from? Why did a piece of scale fall into the tomb of myriad beasts? Gu Shan had a lot of questions, but didn't have the chance to ask them. A powerful pulling force pulled Gu Shan's body, pulling him towards the void of space. The creature hurriedly spoke. "I can pass this power of mine to you, but you must leave immediately, lest you die without a doubt." It did everything it could to make the bones on its body give off a faint light to illuminate the endless darkness. As Gu Shan looked around, he couldn't help but hold his breath. That darkness wasn't darkness at all. Rather, it was filled with countless black insects that covered every inch of Gu Shan's vision. The creature's bones were pierced through by several dozen bronze chains, tightly bound. Its body could only barely move within a short distance. It was trapped inside the sea of black insects. But the black insects seemed to have sensed something and began to move. A black insect let out a sharp cry and rushed towards Gu Shan. "Go!" The enormous being roared like a thunderclap. Gu Shan felt the pulling force abruptly increase in strength, pulling him away in the blink of an eye. His unparalleled speed made everything around him a blur. Gu Shan felt that she was falling and falling. Suddenly, he saw that the black insect was still chasing after him at the end of his vision. The insect had a human face, staring at Gu Shan. "Don't try to run." For some reason, Gu Shan understood what he meant. Suddenly, the black insect sped up, opened its mouth full of sharp teeth, and bit towards Gu Shan. Gu Shan found that she could not move at all. Just as the insect was about to bite Gu Shan's head, the world turned into nothingness, disappearing in front of Gu Shan's eyes. Gu Shan abruptly opened her eyes. Her surroundings were completely silent, tranquil, and peaceful. Gu Shan found herself still standing on the third floor of the Fei Yu Tower of Babel, facing the broken piece of scale. There were no monsters, no insects, no gigantic being trapped by the bronze chains. It was as if nothing had happened at all. Thud! Gu Shan sat down on the ground, breathing heavily. Cold sweat was pouring down his back. No, that wasn't a false illusion. I really did almost die. I died in an irresistible teleportation. What exactly is going on? His gaze fell onto the War God UI. Lines of glowing text hovered above the words. You've successfully resonated and completed this spirit linking. You've become a spirit-linked martial artist. Your spirit linking technique is fist arts. When Gu Shan read through these notifications again, a new line of notification appeared. Frowny face, you've obtained a spirit link through space-time. During the spirit linking process, a certain apocalypse followed you and arrived at your current location. This apocalypse's power is unparalleled, not something that the tomb of myriad beasts could fight against. Fortunately, only a single insignificant insect from the entire apocalypse followed you here. In 5 minutes, that black insect will descend upon the Eastern Desolate Grotto. Attention, the Eastern Desolate Grotto is about to fall into the apocalypse. Apocalypse? A single insect? Where the gigantic being was trapped, there were countless black insects, so if all of them came here, it might be very dangerous. But a single insect shouldn't be too much of a problem. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, a spatial fluctuation could be felt inside the Feiyu Tower of Babel. This was a spatial warp technique. Most likely the Tower of Babel had sensed that he had completed the spirit linking and was preparing to warp him out. Gu Qingshan waited for a short moment. As expected, the spatial fluctuation became stronger and stronger, and soon, Gu Qingshan was thrown out of the tower. Gu Qingshan appeared in front of the gate and smiled. Uncle Zhang, his voice suddenly stopped. A large group of people stood outside the Feather Psychic Tower. The Flying Feather Patriarch, his wife, the elders of the various clans, and the sect leaders of the various clans had all arrived. A large group of sect experts stood guard outside the Feiyu Sky-reaching tower, their expressions tense, not allowing anyone to approach. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Without waiting for him to speak, the Flying Feather Patriarch asked, "The ripples of spiritual connection came from the third layer. So, did you resonate with the Flying Feather Patriarch or the scale armor?" There's no way to hide this. So Gu Qingshan casually answered. "It's a scale." The crowd was in an uproar. One of the elders couldn't help but say, "It must be a lie. If it was a scale armor, how could he have returned alive?" "Shut up," the Flying Feather Patriarch sternly shouted. At this point, he couldn't care less about his son, so he walked in front of Gu Qingshan and sternly said, "Regardless of what you saw in the resonance, don't say a single word. I only want to ask you, when you returned, did something follow you?" Gu Qingshan immediately answered. "There was an insect, black, humanoid, 8-legged, extremely fast." As soon as she said this, Gu Qingshan could clearly sense everyone's expressions becoming tense. "Are you sure it was only one?" the Flying Feather Patriarch asked in a low voice. "I'm sure," Gu Qingshan answered. Gu Qingshan then saw everyone's expressions relaxing. "One should be fine," someone said. "But we don't know how destructive it is, so there might be some issues," someone else said. Everyone looked at a white-haired old man in unison. The white-haired old man continued. "That's something other than the 179 types of wicked revered. If there were more than 3 of them, the entire Eastern Desolate Grotto wouldn't be able to deal with them." Everyone went silent. "If that's the case, that scale isn't a spirit-linked item that our Eastern Desolate Grotto can handle," someone whispered. "It's fine. There was only one attack," the Flying Feather Patriarch said, then glanced at Gu Qingshan again. Gu Qingshan nodded in confirmation. "Not only did I see it, but the War God UI also said so it shouldn't be wrong." Seeing how sure he was, everyone sighed in relief. "Patriarch, we should report this to the city lord right away and make preparations," the white-haired old man suggested. "Report it right away. Then send our own people to assist the city lord in battle. This time, send all of our experts. Make sure to tell the city lord that any losses in battle will be borne by our Flying Feather clan," the Flying Feather Patriarch ordered. "Understood," everyone replied in unison. Streaks of light flew out from the manor, heading towards the center of the city. The Flying Feather Patriarch turned to Gu Qingshan. "Chong Sui Li San, from today onwards, you can have a name. Follow me." Gu Qingshan had no choice but to follow the Patriarch. The group led him to an unassuming building at a corner of the manor. The Patriarch gathered several groups of people, arranged a defensive mission, then had Gu Qingshan and a few other young men enter a secret underground room. Gu Qingshan had seen this place in young Master Zhang's memories. This was a secret room specifically used to defend against all calamities. If a calamity capable of destroying the entire Eastern Desolate Grotto were to occur, this place would immediately activate a teleportation technique to transport everyone inside to another grotto. In other words, this was a place to preserve their lives. The door closed behind Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan found a place in the secret room, sat down, and silently waited. At this point, 5 minutes had passed. That black insect should have arrived at the Eastern Desolate Grotto. Boom! While he was thinking that, a deafening sound of explosions and the screeching of insects could be heard from outside. The battle had already reached its most intense stage. The sound of explosions resounded without end. Gu Qingshan sighed and laid down on the chair. "It's over. I seem to have triggered something terrible." Chapter 1294. The earth trembled. Loud explosions. The screeching of insects. Trembling. Intense trembling. Even the secret room, which was reinforced with layers upon layers of spells, couldn't completely isolate these noises. Perhaps it wasn't completely isolated in the first place. Gu Qingshan lay on the chair and scanned through the room. The young people were all cowering with expressions of either reverence or fear on their faces, silently listening to the noises outside. This would be their first lesson, allowing them to gain a better understanding of the world they were currently in. Gu Qingshan sighed and pondered. I thought I was going to the Wraith Realm, but I ended up in the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. I thought that the Tomb of Myriad Beasts was about the same as the Wraith Realm. But who could have known that a single resonance and reaction would cause me to witness an apocalypse, as well as a certain entity that was trapped by the apocalypse? Compared to the Wraith Realm, this world contained even deeper secrets. Not only that, the Wraith Realm didn't have any truly powerful primordial wraiths. The Tomb of Myriad Beasts also didn't have any samsara divine beasts. Those who occupied these two places were both humans. That in itself was a strange thing. Gu Qingshan clenched his fist and thought in a different direction. The situation from now on will only become more and more severe, so I need to continue growing stronger. Earlier, I was busy fighting against the Soul Shrieker, but now that the decisive battle is over, I'll probably have some time to properly cultivate. Star River Saint, this was the realm after Sumeru Lord. According to the knowledge given to me by the world spirits of the past, there is a huge gap between Sumeru Lord and Star River Saint. To become a Star River Saint, one must first trigger the laws of heaven and earth to manifest the spiritual heavenly tome and virtuous karmic tome within one's body. The spiritual heavenly tome requires the cultivator to grasp enough Tao techniques, while the virtuous karmic tome requires the cultivator to accumulate enough karma. Only when both Tao techniques and karma have been gathered can a cultivator attempt to break through to Star River Saint realm. However, manifesting the spiritual heavenly tome and virtuous karmic tome requires an absolutely safe environment, so this secret room isn't suitable for it. After this matter is over, I'll have to start cultivating. While thinking, Gu Qingshan observed the young people in the secret room. Suddenly, he saw young Master Zhang with a woman. The two of them said something, and young Master Zhang walked towards him. Hey, Li San. Gu Qingshan returned to her senses and smiled as she cupped her fists. Young Master. Yes. Young Master Zhang sat down next to him and opened his arms. Gu Qingshan understood. She took out the longbow named Eagle to the Moon and put it in his hand. Young Master Zhang put away his bow and said in a low voice, Come, tell me, what did you see when you resonated with that piece of scale? Gu Qingshan said, Clan leader forbade me to say it. Young Master Zhang said, Normally, everyone is kept in the dark. Only those official martial artists, bone masters, and archers will know the corresponding things according to their strength. This time, there's a secret that we know, but the clan does not. You should tell me and let me hear it. I don't think that's a good idea. It's not a good idea to go against the Patriarch's orders. Gu Qingshan hesitated. Young Lord Zhang's face sank. He turned around to look at the girl, then turned back and spoke with a gloomy tone. Li San, even if you've entered the school, you're still my servant. You dare to go against this young master on such a matter? Gu Qingshan paused. Young Master Zhang's desire for secrets is too great. In truth, young Master Zhang had already resonated with the scale and successfully linked to it, but he hadn't officially entered the school yet and was still practicing basic archery. There was no need for him to be in such a hurry. And so, Gu Qingshan looked at the girl not too far behind young Master Zhang. The girl's appearance was normal, but she gave off the presence of a ruler, clearly someone who lived a comfortable life. Thanks to young Master Zhang's memories, Gu Qingshan was able to recall this girl's identity. She came all the way from the Western Sea Grotto, a direct disciple of a certain powerful school. Of the 8 grottos in this world, Eastern Desolate was the weakest, while Western Sea was much stronger than Eastern Desolate, so it was basically the strongest grotto. So after this girl arrived, She was treated generously by both the city lord and the various clans. But Gu Qingshan's heart turned a bit colder. This young Master Zhang, to help an outsider obtain information, he's willing to go this far? After all, I've just saved his life and helped him out of a difficult situation. Not to mention, if you have any information you can exchange with me, I can tell you, but I already know everything you know, so why would I tell you so much? But I'm indeed his follower, so if I don't tell him anything and anger him, there will be problems. Gu Qingshan didn't bother thinking about it anymore, so she glanced at the war god UI and equipped herself with a new title. The most flirtatious man. Young master, come with me, Gu Qingshan stood up and said. Young Master Zhang was surprised. Seeing that Gu Qingshan was already walking towards a girl, he had no choice but to quickly follow. Gu Qingshan brought young Master Zhang back to the girl's side and told the two of them, "This is a very dangerous matter. If I told you, it would attract even more of those insects, so I didn't dare to tell you. Please don't blame me." Young Master, title skill activated. Young Master Zhang and the girl were both surprised. "What he said makes a lot of sense," young Master Zhang muttered. "That's right. If that's the case, then we definitely can't tell him. We'll have to wait until this storm is over. Then we'll think of a way to make sure that no one can ask him about it," the girl said with a stern expression. However, her expression suddenly became lively, and she no longer had that indifferent look from before. Gu Qingshan smiled brightly and nodded. "That's right," the girl pondered for a bit, then seemed to have made some sort of decision and suddenly said, "You go first, I have something to tell Li San." Young Master Zhang looked at Gu Qingshan, then at the girl. "Don't worry, the things I promised you, not a single one of them will be missing," the girl said. Young Master Zhang then turned around and walked away. This time, it was Gu Qingshan's turn to look at the girl, then at young Master Zhang who was walking away. What's the meaning of this? Could it be that when I made young Master Zhang give up on his thoughts, this girl had other thoughts instead? The girl waved her hand to create a soundproof barrier, then said, "Li San, you don't have a name yet, so I'll call you that for now," Gu Qingshan replied. "Very well. Your Excellency is... I came from the Western Sea Grotto." Zhao Qiong of the School of Shanhai. Gu Qingshan nodded and waited for the other party to continue. Zhao Qiong continued. "There are a total of 72 cities in the Eastern Desolate Grotto, and this city we're currently in is the second to last city among the 72 cities. Even the 72 cities of the Eastern Desolate Grotto combined cannot compare to the strength of my school of Shanhai." Gu Qingshan was surprised. Zhao Qiong smiled. "I'm saying this because I want you to have a better understanding. In truth, during the spirit linking process, there are many who can resonate with the apocalypse, but very few who can continuously cause the apocalypse to descend." Gu Qingshan still didn't know how to respond to this. However, he had already come back to his senses. So this girl really thinks that I can cause the apocalypse to descend just by talking. In truth, I've only equipped Most Amorous Man and activated the title skill. So reasonable. That's why she believed me. But she said that there are very few who can continuously cause the apocalypse to descend. Very few, which means there are. How could there really be such a person? Gu Qingshan felt a chill in his heart. Seeing his stern expression, Zhao Qiong thought that her plan had worked. So she continued, "Li San, you don't actually know what kind of ability you've obtained, but if you want to use this power to control the apocalypse for yourself, there aren't many people in the entire Eastern Desolate Grotto who can help you. Li San, you need the power of our school of Shanhai. Join us." Gu Qingshan appeared hesitant, then said, "But I'm about to join the school of Fei Yu. You don't need to worry about that." Since time immemorial, many people from a school of Fei Yu had attempted to resonate with that scale, but not a single one of them survived. You were the first, and also a talent that they couldn't nurture. Zhao Qiong spoke with deep meaning. "Trust me, not too long from now, that scale will leave the school of Fei Yu. What do you intend to do?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Just buy it. After all, paying is the simplest way," Zhao Qiong casually replied. Gu Qingshan silently clicked her tongue. This person's background and strength are both quite profound. In truth, the more developed and powerful a place is, the easier it is to obtain information and authority. Otherwise, What would be the point of me spending so much time here to become a city lord? In the entire tomb of myriad beasts, a city lord of the eastern desolate grotto can't even compare to a strand of hair. Unfortunately, I can't actually cause the apocalypse. Wait a minute. It's not that I can't. Gu Qingshan's gaze fell onto the war god UI, staring at a certain title that didn't have a buy. Starflame War God. After thinking about it for a bit, Gu Qingshan felt a bit more confident. He hesitantly said, "The clan has nurtured me for so many years." Zhao Qiong cut him off. "The amount of effort and money they spent on you isn't much. I can pay them 1,000 times the amount. I guarantee that they'll be begging me to take you away." Gu Qingshan froze. For some reason, he suddenly recalled Lola. Such an act. Could it be a shiny golden beast king thigh is right in front of me? Zhao Qiong observed his expression and continued. "Before you make your decision, I can answer 2 of your questions," she smiled. "After all, in this world of the deep grotto, secrets are the most valuable things, and youngsters of your age all desire to know the truth of the world. That's why, ask me anything about this world. No matter what you ask, I can answer you. Consider this as a greeting gift from me to you." Gu Qingshan no longer hesitated. He was completely confident that he hadn't revealed any of his thoughts, nor did he display any desire to obtain information. This Zhao Qiong was completely relying on her 6th sense to make a decision. What impressive character. However, Gu Qingshan welcomed this. The Wraith Realm had already fused around 70% of the Wraith Realm fragments. How much has the Tomb of Myriad Beasts fused? Gu Qingshan's thoughts turned. No, this question is related to the secret of fusing worlds. I can't ask it. Li San is only a young master's follower from a small town in the countryside. How could he ask such a question? 1 breath, 2 breaths. Gu Qingshan quickly thought of something else. This was a very important matter, and it was also suitable for Li San to ask. Gu Qingshan appeared curious and asked, "Senior Zhao, everyone says that the surface is too dangerous, so we've always been living in the deep grotto world, only able to come out at night. I want to know, what exactly is there on the surface?" Zhao Qiong appeared surprised, but then felt relieved. "That's right, this is something that everyone in the Tomb of Myriad Beasts has to face. This Li San is also being rash, so he doesn't know how important of a question he just asked." Zhao Qiong hesitated a bit, but still answered, "The reason why we can't go to the surface is because the world above is a tomb." Chapter 1295. A tomb. There was a tomb on the ground of the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. Gu Qingshan's mind moved quickly. The entire samsara had been destroyed. This much could be confirmed. My homeworld was most likely a samsara world derived from a fragment of Huang Quan. The cultivation world was most likely a fragment of a human realm, because the cultivation world had a path to heaven specifically prepared for cultivators, even though it had been broken and could no longer be ascended. Could it be that the Tomb of Myriad Beasts was a unique fragment? Or perhaps the Tomb of Myriad Beasts itself carried some sort of secret? The key to this question is how many fragments of the animal realm were fused into the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. Gu Qingshan fell into thought. The people of the Tomb of Myriad Beasts could freely appear on the battlefield without the Wraith Realm's interference. If that's the case, the Tomb of Myriad Beasts fusion rate shouldn't be lower than the Wraith Realms. I'll have to wait and see. All right, Li San, you can ask me another question, Zhao Qiong smiled and said. Gu Qingshan looked at her. Earlier, when she was standing by herself, other than young Master Zhang, no one dared to approach and talk to her. After all, her status was too high, and she had an unapproachable expression on her face. Who would have thought that she would treat me like this? Could it be that the people who can trigger the apocalypse are really that important? Gu Qingshan regained her senses and asked, Senior Zhao, why does your school of Shanhai want someone like me? Zhao Qiong generously answered, because you can trigger the apocalypse for us to fight against, research, and come up with a way to deal with it. Seeing the confused expression on the young man's face, she couldn't help but stroke his head and continued. It can't be helped, the 8 grottos of this world are all researching how to fight against the apocalypse, but this is related to an even deeper secret. Only if you join us and become stronger would you be qualified to know this secret. The young man that Gu Qingshan was pretending to be was only 15 to 16 years old, while she was already in her 20s, so she naturally felt much older than Gu Qingshan. She had no idea what this guy had gone through. Gu Qingshan was already displeased to have her head touched, so she made a bashful expression and avoided his hand, saying, "I didn't expect there to be someone who specializes in fighting against the extraterrestrial evil." Zhao Qiong replied, "The true major schools are all doing this. After all, this is related to the survival of every single person in the tomb of myriad beasts." She seemed to have thought of something, and her expression darkened. Seeing her like this, Gu Qingshan knows that there must be a reason. Since it concerned everyone's life and death, it was naturally not an ordinary matter. Gu Qingshan's thoughts turned, then spoke in a low voice. "Senior Zhao, if you're willing to tell me why the major schools want to research the apocalypse, I'll immediately join the school of Shanghai." Zhao Qiong regained her senses and smiled. "You're quite a smart kid. It seems like it wasn't a coincidence that you were able to say those words to help your young master in the meeting hall just now. Fine, I'll tell you. But once you know this secret, there's no turning back. You must join us." Gu Qingshan replied, "That's a promise." Zhao Qiong appeared pleased, then mused. "This is related to the tomb on the surface. Many unimaginable entities are buried within the tomb. Most of them are already dead, but a few still have lingering consciousnesses. Even in death, they are still using their remnant souls or consciousnesses to resist the apocalypse. But sometimes, the apocalypse would suddenly erupt, engulfing the entire tomb, or even seeping deep underground to reach our world. The few grotto extermination incidents in history weren't actually caused by plagues or natural disasters, but rather by the eruption of the apocalypse of the 8 grottos of this world. Every capable school must think of a way to fight against the apocalypse, or even enter the tomb on the surface at certain times to eliminate those apocalypses. This is partly due to the circumstances, but also because the entities within the tomb can grant us greater power, weapons, armor, and even help us understand the truth behind the world. Gu Qingshan was confused, so we've always desired to know the truth. Zhao Qiong's expression became solemn and said, "Li San, remember this well. Secrets are the most valuable things in the infinite worlds, accompanied by risks, but also great opportunities. They can help us understand everything, so it is worth it for each and every one of us to take the risk." Hearing that, Gu Qingshan felt a deep sense of respect. Everything the people of the Wraith Realm did was for the sake of plundering and domination. They only cared about benefits. Compared to them, the people of the Tomb of Myriad Beasts had viewed the secrets of the infinite worlds as their highest goal. With this philosophy alone, the Tomb of Myriad Beasts had already left the Wraith Realm in the dust. If everything was truly as Zhao Qiong said, Gu Qingshan said, "Senior Zhao, join the school of Shanghai." Zhao Qiong smiled and nodded. "Very well. Once the apocalypse outside is destroyed, I'll come and talk to the school of Fei Yu about you." Gu Qingshan asked, "Senior Zhao, what kind of apocalypse were those insects outside?" Zhao Qiong replied, "I already said that I would only answer 2 of your questions, but seeing that you've already joined the school, I'll tell you, actually, I don't know what it was either." Gu Qingshan was originally listening attentively, but didn't expect to hear such an answer, so she couldn't help but feel surprised. Seeing his expression, Zhao Qiong couldn't help but chuckle. "Don't worry, although I don't know either. According to the many years of experience of the 8 grottos, out of the 179 known types of wicked revered, not a single one of them will be able to cause any major problems. Even if it was something that didn't belong to the 179 types, at least 3 of them would be needed for it to cause any serious consequences." Gu Qingshan nodded thoughtfully. This was exactly the same as what the old man had said earlier. While they were talking, their expressions changed at the same time. Although they had set up a soundproof barrier, the 2 of them could still clearly see the actions of the young people outside. Just now, everyone had joyful expressions on their faces. Zhao Qiong waved her hand to remove the soundproof barrier. The intense sounds of explosions outside had disappeared, as well as the sharp screeches of the insects. The battle had ended. Very quickly, the door of the secret room was opened and a face peeked in. It was Steward Liu, the one who brought Gu Qingshan to the meeting room earlier. "All right, the monster has been defeated," Steward Liu said. Saying so, he stepped aside, stood next to the door, and gestured for the young people to leave. A faint white fog came in from outside the door, silently filling the secret room. "There's fog tonight. Those who haven't cultivated before, make sure to pay attention to your steps," Steward Liu reminded them. The young people all cheered and walked out one by one. Young Master Zhang suddenly asked, "Where are my father and the others?" "They should be the ones who came to pick us up," Steward Liu respectfully replied. "Young Master, the opponent this time was too powerful. The Patriarch and the others were injured during the battle and are currently resting. So I came to pick you up." Young Lord Zhang revealed a puzzled expression, but he still lifted his foot and walked out. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Normally speaking, the apocalypse had countless methods, some of which were powerful enough to crush everything in the world, some of which were unimaginably eerie. For this reason, every manor had a secret room built to protect the young people who represented the hope of their clan. Normally, the ones responsible for opening and closing the secret room were either the Patriarch or an authoritative elder. But the one who came was Steward Liu. Seems like the battle this time was quite intense. Everyone silently thought so and couldn't help but quicken their steps, wanting to see how their loved ones were doing. Seeing this, Gu Qingshan silently pondered, then whispered into Zhao Qiong's ear, "Senior Zhao, how strong are you?" Zhao Qiong replied, "I'm not an expert in combat, but I do have a few trump cards that are probably stronger than everyone in this city." Gu Qingshan silently nodded, then suddenly called out, "Ouch, Lu Ming! Sir Steward Liu, my stomach hurts. Please help me up." He crouched down, grabbing Zhao Qiong's hand to stabilize himself, while clutching his stomach with his other hand, displaying a pained expression. Steward Liu turned to look at him, but seeing him like this, he appeared helpless. You brat. The Patriarch has already announced that you're going to join the school. Why are you still acting like a coward?" Gu Qingshan lowered his head and narrowed his eyes. Steward Liu's words didn't contain any issues, and his tone of voice also maintained the same attitude as before. In the next second, he saw Steward Liu striding towards him and rambling, "Don't worry. All right, I'll help you up. You're about to become an expert anyways, so don't bother with this old Liu about what happened in the past." Gu Qingshan didn't say anything and continued to grimace. He used his finger to write a single word on Zhao Qiong's palm. "Kill." Zhao Qiong was a bit surprised. She had been traveling around the 8 grottos of this world for a long time, so she was used to going through storms and storms. Her mind was clear and decisive, but it was still a bit difficult for her to kill an innocent person. While she was hesitating, Gu Qingshan quickly wrote another word on her palm. "Trust me," Zhao Qiong abruptly realized. Indeed, Li Sangang had just successfully formed a spirit link and gained some sort of power. What he formed a spirit link with was a piece of scale that no one knew about. Although there were quite a few of such items in the 8 grottos, very few people could successfully form a spirit link with them and bring about an unknown apocalypse. Perhaps Zhao Qiong's expression was calm, but she held Gu Qingshan's hand tightly and said, "You might have eaten something bad, but don't worry. Once you start cultivating, your body will no longer have this problem." Gu Qingshan felt relieved. These words meant that he was at ease. If Zhao Qiong still hesitated, Gu Qingshan would have no choice but to do it herself, run away, or think of a way to change her identity. After all, a person that even the Azure Dragon origin hex couldn't stop was definitely not the original Steward Liu. After thinking about it, it should be that insect. In other words, other than this Steward Liu, everyone else outside is probably dead. Chapter 1296. Lu Ming was a very ordinary steward of the estate, under the power of the Azure Dragon origin hex. As soon as he responded to Gu Qingshan's call, he would be frozen in place, unable to move. But right now, he was walking towards Gu Qingshan and Zhao Qiong, which meant he wasn't Steward Liu. And that white fog was also full of problems. Within the river of time, there was endless fog. The era of chaos manifested its power as gray fog. The fog form was actually because the level of power was too high, surpassing the limits of dimensions. Normal people couldn't see or understand it, which was why it was seen as fog. Furthermore, the ones who opened the door this time weren't the patriarch or the elders, which made the situation extremely unusual. Any one of these problems was enough to make Gu Qing Shan cautious. Under everyone's gazes, Steward Liu walked in front of Gu Qing Shan and reached his hand out. "Come," Steward Liu smiled and said, at the same time that a ferocious claw full of barbs manifested behind his back. Zhao Qiong held a piece of broken red bone in her hand and shouted, "Bloodbone giant corpse, kill it." A faint bloody figure that exuded an air of vicissitude manifested from the broken bone into a giant skeletal claw that struck Steward Liu's body. Boom! Steward Liu was sent flying by this attack, crashing through the door of the secret room and flying outside. Zhao Qiong told Gu Qing Shan, "Stay here and don't move," saying so. She held the broken red bone in her hand, leapt forward, and chased after Steward Liu through the hole in the roof. "Why did they start fighting? Where's my father? Why isn't he here?" Young Master Zhang called out. He rushed out the door. The surrounding young people all clamored and followed him, wanting to see what was going on. After all, their families were outside. Only Gu Qing Shan was left in the secret room. He didn't pretend to have a stomachache, stood up, and casually sat down. From that attack, just now, a hole had been made in the roof of the secret room. So Gu Qing Shan simply released her inner sight to check outside. The outside was filled with a faint mist. If one were to use their eyes to look, they would probably not be able to see anything beyond 10 steps. Fortunately, Gu Qing Shan's inner sight allowed her to see that Zhao Qiong was wielding the blood-red bone and manipulating a certain entity within the void of space, manifesting a pair of blood-red skeletal claws several dozen meters in length to fight against the insect. Gu Qing Shan couldn't help but shake her head after a few moments. The pair of blood-colored skeletal claws were quite powerful, but the 8-legged human-faced insect was almost indestructible. Although it kept letting out sharp cries as it was beaten, it became more and more ferocious. Its attacks and movement speed became faster and faster. This astonishing speed, he had already experienced it when Gu Qing Shan was communicating with him. Gu Qing Shan temporarily ignored the two sides and used her inner sight to probe the city. The next moment, his hair stood on end. The whole city had been razed to the ground. In the center of the city, there was a tall tower made of broken limbs, blood, internal organs, and bones. It was constantly emitting mist. The black insect had used the corpses of everyone in the city to build a tower of bones that was several hundred meters tall. Blood had seeped deeply into the ground, forming an eerie and twisted shadow. This hellish scene was enough to drive any normal person who saw it with their own eyes mad. Gu Qing Shan's inner sight scanned the city again, only to see that many of the secret rooms in the buildings had been broken through. Other than the walls full of blood, there was nothing else inside. There were also a few secret rooms that were completely undamaged, most likely because the people inside had reacted quickly enough and teleported away. The entire city fell into silence within the mist. Gu Qing Shan sighed emotionally. The insect that had turned into Steward Liu was able to perfectly inherit the other party's memories and personality, as well as speak the appropriate words. This alone was enough to fool the majority of people. Gu Qing Shan's inner sight scanned the area again and returned to the Tower of Bones. The area closest to the tower was where the mist was the thickest, almost solid enough to turn everything into darkness. No, this wasn't pure darkness. If one took a closer look, they would notice that this darkness was constantly surging like a tidal wave. Gu Qing Shan suddenly recalled the scene he saw during his spirit linking. At an unknown location, a gigantic skeleton was surrounded by endless darkness. The darkness was filled with countless black, 8-legged human-faced insects. Could it be? Even those insects are coming? Gu Qing Shan's heart abruptly skipped a beat. Don't be ridiculous. A single insect is enough to massacre an entire city. Never mind Gu Qingshan. Even someone from a major organization like Zhao Qiong has never seen such a thing before. Then, what exactly is that human-headed snake manifested from the divine skill, unbreakable mountain range? Why does it have to face such a terrifying apocalypse? Gu Qingshan didn't have time to think any further. He had to focus on what was in front of him first. If those endless insects were to come, the entire tomb of myriad beasts would most likely fall into the apocalypse. Shanu, Gu Qingshan called out. An autumn water, clear blue, sword manifested from the void of space behind him, turning into a cold and elegant palace maid. Gongzi, do you want to fight? The palace maid asked. Turn into Li San and stand guard here. I'll go take a look, Gu Qingshan said. Understood. Be careful. Gongzi, after saying so, the palace maid turned into Li San and sat down on the chair. Gu Qingshan turned back into his original appearance and turned to leave. As soon as he took a step forward, he abruptly stopped. What's the matter, Gongzi? Shano asked. That insect is too sly. It's been stalling for time since the very beginning. Seems like it wants the Tower of Corpses to complete some sort of ritual, Gu Qingshan pondered. He looked up at the hole in the ceiling. Night had fallen. It was midnight. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and made up his mind. His body shook a bit, landed on the ground, and turned into a large orange cat. Sumeru Thaumaturgy. Orange Sovereign Transformation. Meow. The orange cat spread his paws and dashed away like a phantom, completely disappearing before he even made it halfway there. Ghostly Shadow of Night. When night falls, you can borrow the abilities of those supernatural items once every night. Gu Qingshan had directly used the gourd Adorable's thaumaturgy, Spotless Jade, to make it impossible for any entity to discover him. Within the silent ruins of the city, thick fog filled the air. A cat was silently running under the cover of the night, quickly leaping onto a tall wall. He crouched down on the wall, looking not too far away. On the other side, Zhao Qiong and the black insect were locked in a fierce battle. The orange cat turned to look at another direction. The several hundred-meter-tall Tower of Corpses was constantly giving off black fog, turning it into a deep darkness. The darkness seemed extremely distant, but also close in front of him. It was becoming clearer and clearer. I need to hurry. The orange cat swung his tail at an extremely slow pace, quickly making up his mind. He melted into the darkness and flew towards where Zhao Qiong and the black insect were fighting. He silently approached both sides, silently waiting for his chance at a suitable distance. This place was already away from the area where the two sides were fighting, and it was a distance where he could intervene at any time. Both Zhao Qiong and the black insect didn't notice his arrival at all. Damn it! Why is this happening? Zhao Qiong turned to the Tower of Corpses at the center of the city and felt a chill in her heart. So the most important thing was that tower. She had a lot of experience with the apocalypse, so she finally understood. An apocalyptic monster would never do something meaningless. That tower would most likely summon something, perhaps something of the same species as this black insect, or perhaps something even more powerful than it. The Eastern Desolate Grotto was the wilderness of countless beasts, barren and barren, with no true top-level combatants here. So even if she wanted to ask for help, she would need to spend some effort to contact the other grottos. But this black insect was too sly, as if it could understand the meaning behind every action of his little sisters. It wouldn't even give me a chance to use a technique to ask for help. Then the only way is Zhao Qiong clenched her teeth and used her skeletal claw to attack several times in a row, forcing the black insect to retreat. Taking this chance, she turned around and attempted to rush towards the Tower of Corpses. The orange cat crouched down on one side, then abruptly opened his eyes wide. Naive. Too naive. This will definitely anger the insect. The orange cat used ground shrink to vanish and reappeared not too far in front of Zhao Qiong. It's waiting here. Although the black insect was forced to retreat, it noticed that Zhao Qiong was about to rush towards the tower and immediately uttered a high-pitched and hurried cry. It also knew that the girl in front of it had noticed that it was stalling for time. Then I won't give her a chance. From what I've seen in the past few exchanges, I can definitely kill it if I use my full strength, even if I have to pay a heavy price. The insect's body gave off a layer of black light, then twisted its body and appeared in front of Zhao Qiong. The black light abruptly began to burn intensely. The insect is going to kill. It didn't know that an orange cat was hiding in the darkness behind it. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, a sword light flashed like a graceful swan. The sword pierced through the black insect's body and sliced it in half. As soon as the corpse was split apart, it had already turned into nothingness, no longer existing. Gu Qingshan wielded the earth sword and stood where the insect originally stood. He was waiting here. Then he swung his sword. The earth sword, the sword of Earth's choice. Chapter 1297. The insect's body disappeared into the void of space. Zhao Qiong couldn't react in time and froze in place. That extremely troublesome and cunning insect of the apocalypse was killed just like that. She turned to the man in front of her. Gu Qingshan wielded the earth sword, but her gaze was focused on the void of space. Lines of glowing text were scrolling past the war god UI. Frowny face, you've activated Earth's choice. Earth's choice. Eliminate all entities. A total of 100,000 soul points were used to kill it. Attention, the stronger the target you want to eliminate, the more soul points Earth's choice will cost. Gu Qingshan wasn't too surprised. Although 100,000 soul points was a lot, it wasn't much to him. As long as he had the earth sword in hand, as long as he had soul points, he was confident. During the spirit linking earlier, he arrived at that space and was frozen, which was why the insect was so arrogant and almost killed him. In reality, with his current swordsmanship, he might not be able to deal with too many black, 8-legged human-faced insects, but a single one wasn't a threat to Gu Qingshan at all. The truly impressive aspect of this insect was its ability to perfectly impersonate another person, taking in another person's personality, abilities, traits, and even memories. If they were allowed to infiltrate a civilization like this, they could silently erode the entire civilization. This was the truly terrifying aspect of it. All of a sudden, a corner of the war god UI popped up. The remaining soul points tab had increased by 50,000 soul points. A line of glowing text provided a notification. Frowny face, your individual strength is slightly higher than this black insect's. But considering that this insect has several unique abilities that have yet to be activated, its destructive and destructive power is already at the level of destroying a world. Because of that, you can obtain 50,000 soul points. Gu Qingshan was surprised. What? How many other abilities does this insect have? It's fortunate that I used the path of the hitman to kill it in one strike without giving it a chance to display its abilities. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened. Gu Qingshan sighed emotionally, her mind filled with complicated emotions. This humble one is Zhao Qiong of Shanghai sect. May I ask who you are? A female voice asked. Zhao Qiong bowed to him. Gu Qingshan looked at the other party and bowed in return. I am. Who am I? Perhaps in this world, he would appear at some point in time, or perhaps he wouldn't appear at all. There had to be a story. He couldn't say it was the 100 Flower sect. After all, Shifu was busy breaking through to the next realm, and the other junior's cultivation was not high. Oh, there was also a senior brother whose cultivation was shockingly low. In such a situation, they couldn't let others find them based on their identities. Then how should he introduce himself? Things like origin and name were sometimes useful. For example, when making a deal with someone, or when you needed to win over an ally, others would consider your origin and past. He might even be luring the snake out of its hole. Gu Qingshan paused briefly, then continued. I came from an organization within the space vortex. I can't remember. My name is Gu Qingshan. Can't figure it out? What organization was this? What have they not figured out yet? Zhao Qiong froze for a few moments before realizing that she had lost her composure and hurriedly bowed again. Thank you for your help, sir. Otherwise, I might not have been a match for it. After saying so, she immediately continued. With my own strength, I can't destroy this tower. I need to contact the Western Sea Grotto right now and ask for the help of truly powerful people. seeing her anxious appearance. Gu Qingshan also turned her gaze towards the Tower of Corpses. The tower was several hundred meters tall, made purely from corpses. A sorrowful and grudgeful aura exuded from the tower, reaching all the way to the sky. The darkness that drifted around the tower was becoming clearer and clearer. Numerous black, 8-legged human-faced insects could be seen clearly. Gu Qingshan's heart jumped. It's too late. I can already sense their presence. If you and I don't escape, we'll be eaten by them, Gu Qingshan purposefully said. Zhao Qiong gritted her teeth. We can't just let this apocalypse continue to spread. Otherwise, the entire Eastern Desolate Grotto would be finished. She took out several blood-colored bones and quickly arranged them on the ground. Seeing her actions, Gu Qingshan silently nodded. Within the tomb of myriad beasts, there were several types of transcendence. The first were spirit-linked martial artists. The second were weapon users. The third were bone masters. Zhao Qiong was a bone master who specialized in establishing a connection with the remains of ancient existences in order to obtain the corresponding supernatural powers. From Gu Qingshan's personal demeanor and actions, as well as the battle just now, she shouldn't be a bone master who specializes in combat. Perhaps she specialized in research, but she still dared to fight against those strange insects. Now that the apocalypse was about to descend, she was still willing to stay behind and think of a way to contact someone else to deal with the apocalypse. Gu Qingshan admired such a person. While arranging the bones, Zhao Qiong said, "Please help me protect them for a bit. I'll need a bit of time." Gu Qingshan looked at how flustered she was, then at the Tower of Corpses. He sighed and said, "It's too late." Zhao Qiong looked up. All around the Tower of Corpses, the darkness had converged to form another unknown world. The entire Tower of Corpses was also giving off a rhythmic pulse. This tower has come back to life. What exactly will it become? Zhao Qiong felt a sense of despair, but her hands moved even faster. Your Excellency, if you can't do it, you should run for now. I need to inform someone else about this. Otherwise, if the news doesn't spread, the entire tomb of myriad beasts will fall into danger. Gu Qingshan glanced at her again. What a resolute girl. He silently praised her in his mind, then started walking towards the Tower of Corpses. This apocalypse was brought upon by me. For the living beings of this city, this is an undeserved calamity. So I should bear the corresponding responsibility. Your Excellency, what are you doing? Be careful. Zhao Qiong noticed his actions and hurriedly reminded him. It's nothing. While walking, Gu Qingshan replied, I've heard of the tomb of myriad beasts before, so I came from the void. Now that I've seen you for myself, you truly are an outstanding person, not something the Wraith Realm could compare to. He let go of the Earth Sword, allowing this ancient sword to hide behind him. A second later, Gu Qingshan's figure shot up into the sky. Zhao Qiong looked up. Is this expert swordsman really going to run? She felt a bit disappointed, but quickly felt that it was only natural. I have a mission, but I can't let others fall into this place of death with me. That was how she consoled herself. But the situation was completely different from what she had thought. Gu Qingshan rode the wind as she flew up, then reached her hand out to grab another elegant, yet sharp sword in her hand. The Heaven Sword. While flying, Gu Qingshan swung the sword. Her immense spirit energy manifested as a sword seal, manifesting boundless sword chi that spread throughout the night sky. Sword array Tai. Boundless sword chi turned into a howling wind that descended from the sky, completely enveloping the entire Tower of Corpses. The tornado rose up with a loud rumble. Boundless flesh and blood were disappearing within the wind, reassembling, changing, and returning to a certain moment in the past. The Heaven Sword, the sword that carried the boundless power of the eternal abyss, had fully activated chaotic flow. Zhao Qiong opened her mouth wide, watching the miraculous scene in front of her, unable to utter a single complete sentence. People dying one by one. They were being reborn. No, they weren't really being reborn. They were simply returning to a moment in the past when they were still alive. At the time, their fates of death hadn't occurred yet. They were still alive and well. Boom! The entire tower of corpses began to collapse, turning back into living people. This terrifying tower of flesh and blood had been turned into a tower of living people. The eerie power it once possessed had also completely disappeared. Without the support of that eerie power, the surging darkness also slowly disappeared into the void of space. The insects began to madly move, screaming noiselessly, desperately trying to break through the barrier of this world and descend upon this world. But it was useless. They were still a bit away from breaking through this world's barrier, and now that the tower had disappeared, they couldn't come over. The shadow of darkness, the strange runes on the ground, the tower of corpses and blood, everything else no longer existed. The barrier of the world closed up once again, eliminating everything. The danger was resolved. Chapter 1298. Zhao Qiong blankly stared at this scene. The swordsman had already flown into the clouds, disappearing without a trace. On the ground, there were ruins everywhere, as far as the eye could see. But from Zhao Qiong's point of view, these wounds weren't important, because everyone had come back to life. However, there was a small problem. Although the tower of people had collapsed, the majority of them were still stuck together, unable to separate for now. Because there were too many people. Clamor, screams, and screams resounded all at once. Old Li, where are you? Big brother Zhang, I'm right under your but old Wang. Don't purposely push me. Your husband is watching what? Don't worry, patriarch. This humble servant has already checked. There are no threats around. If you can move your foot away from my nostrils, I'll feel safer. Sorry. Who's spouting bullshit? Do you have any sense of civility? The crowd was bustling and noisy, and it revealed a different type of vitality amidst the ruins. Fortunately, these humans who had been living underground for a long time, although most of them couldn't be considered combatants, they were still quite strong. The entire tower of people was also quickly collapsing. Otherwise, the people below would have already been crushed to death. Zhao Qiong froze in place, watching this without moving a muscle. She was trying her best to recall who, in this underground cavern, could resurrect the dead, and an entire city of people at that. Because even now, she still couldn't believe what she was seeing with her own eyes. This was something that only a god could do. Time slowly passed. Bam! Bam! Two dull noises suddenly resounded from the bones under Zhao Qiong's feet. In the blink of an eye, a dignified man with 10 blades on his back and a slender woman with a fan in her hand appeared. Zhao Qiong, is this an unknown apocalypse? The man asked in a low voice, then drew a black blade from his back. Brother, you go first, I'll prepare a bit. As the woman with the fan in her hand said so, she was already muttering something. Both of them raised their auras, and then they froze. The man looked at the tower of people that was slowly separating and muttered, What's going on? As soon as Zhao Qiong saw this pair of siblings, she calmed herself down, hurriedly bowed and reported, Your Excellency, Thousand Saints Blade Venerate. Your Excellency, Painted Bone Serenity. Someone saved me just now. He revived everyone, resurrection. The two of them couldn't help but look at Zhao Qiong. Zhao Qiong explained everything that happened just now. He said his name was Gu Qing Shan. Painted Bones Serenity asked, I know this person, but I've never heard of this organization called Unthinkable. Thousand Saints Blade Venerable muttered. He did say that he was someone who couldn't figure it out. Zhao Qiong nodded. Thousand Saints Blade Venerate muses. I heard that this person is the master of the twin swords Heaven and Earth, a top-level figure of the 900 million world layers. Who would have thought that he would come to our world so soon after returning from the past? So, these people were able to come back to life because of the Heaven Sword's power. Painted Bones Serenity asked. Yes. Venerable Thousand Saints nodded. Painted Bones Serenity's eyes flickered. What should we do? Those two swords are very... Little sister, don't overthink it. Thousand Saints Blade Venerate glanced at his little sister and continued. In the age of old, the deity of chaos, the bygone-era magic dragon, and the indestructible giant all fought over the twin swords heaven and earth, only to be defeated by this human sword cultivator called Gu Shan and taken away the twin swords. If you believe that you can win against all three of them at once, you could try to find him. But I suggest that you use seduction, because that might be the only way for you to survive. Painted Bone Serenity froze. Then unconvinced, my power comes from Thousand Saints Blade Venerate cut her off. I know that your power comes from an unimaginable entity within that tomb. In fact, we all came from the same source. But you need to understand. He pointed at the collapsing tower of people. When he didn't have the twin swords heaven and earth, he was already able to defeat 3 eternal entities from the age of old. And now that he has those 2 swords, they are the demon suppression weapons of the endless abyss, the protector of extinction, the swords of destiny, the ultimate soul artifacts that the eternal abyss specifically prepared for a certain matter. Are you sure you can win against them? Furthermore, his identity has also become a mystery. We don't even know who he is. It was only today that we found out that he belongs to an organization called Can't Think of Anything. Thousand Saints Blade Venerate patted Painted Bones Serenity's shoulder and said, "That's why you should seduce him. That way, I might have a powerful brother-in-law. If an apocalypse erupt from the tomb one day, at least you and I would have a place to seek refuge." Thousand Saints Blade Venerate then turned to Zhao Qiong. "The brat you found was able to draw an apocalypse that we've never seen before, so he could be considered a unique talent. Bring him back as soon as possible. Remember, don't let him use his abilities on the way. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if he draws something else." After saying so, Thousand Saints Blade Venerate turned around and disappeared. He simply left. Painted Bones Serenity froze in place, unable to say anything for a long while. Next to her, Zhao Qiong nodded and silently thought about Li San's matter. As for what Thousand Saints Blade Venerate said about Painted Bones Serenity, Zhao Qiong looked down at her feet blankly, as if she hadn't heard what he said at all. If there's nothing else, this old lady will be going somewhere else to play," Painted Bones Serenity angrily said, and also disappeared from where she stood. Zhao Qiong sighed. This pair of brother and sister are very strong, but they can also give off the impression that they're unreliable regardless. The matter has been resolved. The orange cat who was sitting next to her, without anyone's sight, also sighed. "I didn't think I'd be so famous." However, regarding the power of the twin swords heaven and earth, he glanced at the void of space in front of him, reading a line of glowing text. Frowny face, "You've used the heaven swords chaotic flow, as chaotic flow struck too many targets this time. The soul points you spent, 10 million. I really can't use it carelessly anymore." The orange cat lowered his head, appearing a bit dejected. "But no matter what, this matter is over. Once I gradually understand this world, I might be able to cooperate with these people in the fight against the apocalypse." The orange cat silently thought. He lightly touched the ground with his paw and used ground shrink. He first returned to the secret room. While Zhao Qiong was thinking about something else, she slowly made her way back. When she returned to the secret room of the school of Feiyu, Li San was already sitting blankly in a corner. "Li San," Zhao Qiong called out. Li San regained his senses and hurriedly stood up. "Senior Zhao, how did it go?" "The matter has been resolved, but the entire city was destroyed by that insect, so it'll most likely take quite a bit of time to rebuild," Zhao Qiong replied. Li San was surprised, then asked with lingering fear, "A single insect? Was that powerful?" "Indeed," Zhao Qiong replied with a serious expression. "That's why we can't test what kind of ability you've obtained right now. We'll have to wait until you return to the school of Shanghai with me, under the protection of experts, before we can slowly explore it." Li San smiled and replied, "All right, I understand. Senior Zhao, when are we leaving?" Zhao Qiong replied, "Speaking of leaving, we'll have to wait for a bit." "Wait for what?" Li San asked. "At least wait until your school of Feiyu has settled down a bit and begun to rebuild your homeland. Only then would I be able to ask for some resources in exchange for you joining our school of Shanghai," Zhao Qiong replied. She took out a bone pendant and hung it around Gu Qingshan's neck. "This will protect you. Wait a bit. I'll go check if your patriarch has returned." Saying so, Zhao Qiong stroked Li San's head. The pitiful Gu Shan was currently disguised as the young Li San, so her body hadn't fully grown yet, so she couldn't even reach the other party's shoulder, so she could only let her stroke her head. Zhao Qiong smiled at Gu Shan, then turned around and left. Gu Shan slowly sat down. He touched the bone pendant. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god, UI, frowny face bone of summoning blood. This bone had been processed by a bone master and turned into a type of certificate, granting the wearer the protection of a mysterious entity, allowing them to avoid being attacked once in times of danger. Owner, Zhao Qiong. So there was an owner. In other words, anything that a bone master gave to another person could be taken back at any time. Gu Shan uninterestedly let go of the bone pendant. Do I need protection? Of course not. The only thing I can do right now is to wait here. After I'm done with my business, I'll follow Zhao Qiong to the school of Shanghai to experience the vastness of this world and explore its secrets. After all, the Tomb of Myriad Beasts isn't any weaker than the Wraith Realm. I can only hope that my exploration will be of some help to those tragic futures. From the timeline, I should have only just returned from the Age of Old in the 900 million world layers, most likely together with Lin, searching for a place to heal. Perhaps I haven't met Boss yet, which means there's more than enough time. Then let's wait. Gu Shan closed his eyes, selected a few outstanding fist techniques from the knowledge he received from the infinite worlds of the past, and began to comprehend them. Although I can't find out what exactly that human-headed, snake-bodied entity taught me, I've already become a spirit-linked fist master. Right now, even if I have the martial scripture that Lin taught me as a foundation, I should still learn a few related fist techniques. At least, I have to act like it. A few moments later, Gu Shan abruptly opened his eyes. No, I wouldn't have attracted the black, 8-legged human-faced insects like Thousand Saints Blade Venerate and Zhao Qiong were worried about. How did I end up getting sucked into this as well? Gu Shan silently felt ashamed, then released his inner sight to observe his surroundings. There was no one in the secret room, and no one outside. Right now, I can begin to search for the ability that entity passed on to me. Gu Shan raised both his hands and clenched them into fists. In an instant, mysterious natural runes gradually appeared on his fists. Chapter 1299. Gu Shan stared at the faintly discernible runes on his hand, a bit at a loss. Although he had obtained some knowledge about this world from young Master Zhang, none of that knowledge included anything like this. Before me, no one in my clan had ever managed to perform a spirit linking with the scales. So what should I do now? Gu Shan asked the void of space. War God UI, how should I use these runes on my hand? The war god UI replied, please seek help from a more professional person. Saying so, 500 soul points were deducted. Gu Shan didn't care about the soul points and fell into thought. Perhaps it was just as the war god UI said. Only an expert from the school of Shanghai would be able to help him. Those people were experienced and knowledgeable, so they definitely knew more than young Master Zhang about all kinds of spirit channeling situations. Knowledgeable, Gu Shan thought of something and recalled a certain entity, the one who had the war god intelligence function. He took out the colorful rooster statue and lightly pulled on its comb. Ah, so it's you, youngster. The colorful rooster came to life and yawned. That's right. You know a lot of things, so I came here to ask for your guidance, Gu Shan politely replied. Of course. What do you want to ask this time? The colorful rooster asked. Gu Shan showed the natural runes on his hands to the rooster. The colorful rooster was surprised. Ah, isn't this a spirit-linking ritual? Your ritual has been completed. So how about this? Throw a punch first for me to see. Gu Shan stood up and threw a punch at the void of space in front of him. The runes flickered, seemingly sensing Gu Shan's punch. That's right, just like that. Saying so, the colorful rooster took out a counter out of nowhere. Youngster, the power you obtain from spirit linking is contained within the runes. Continue punching until the value of my counter reaches 100. What's the point of that? Gu Shan asked. Cut the crap, a youngster who doesn't know anything. Just do as I say. the colorful rooster glared at him. Gu Shan had no choice but to do as he said. That's right, he's helping me, even though he's a little harsh with his words. Just as he was consoling himself, the colorful rooster's voice rang out again. Remember to transfer me 500,000 soul points. 500,000. Gu Shan couldn't help but ask. Previously it was only 100,000. Why is it 500,000 this time? The colorful rooster lazily replied. Of course, now that you've made a fortune, my asking price is naturally much higher. Besides, a nouveau riche like you should pay a higher price for knowledge and information. Gu Shan fell silent. Apart from the condiments, the way to cook the braised chicken was to cut the chicken into pieces, blanch the water and drain it. Pour into a wok of oil, stir-fry it until it was slightly golden, bring it to a boil, and simmer it for dozens of minutes. As for the crispy chicken, it needed to be dipped in seasonings, air-dried, and deep-fried to give the entire chicken a crispy texture and flavor. Gu Shan's eyes lingered on the colorful rooster as she prepared several dishes in her mind. Little brother, what's with that look? Being stared at by Gu Shan, the colorful rooster unknowingly calmed down a bit. It's nothing. You're thinking too much. Gu Shan assumed a stance and prepared to throw a punch. Since there was no one around, he wasn't afraid of being called a lunatic, so he began to throw punches at the void of space. He decided to perform a set of martial arts fist techniques that he obtained from the remnant will of the infinite worlds. Having studied the martial arts that Lin taught him, as well as the skills that the infinite worlds taught him, Gu Shan's fist techniques were quite decent. The colorful rooster watched for a while, then danced and sang on the side. I say, this person, you're not simple at all. You're a sword cultivator. Why are your fist techniques so outstanding? Because you dash, your fist strike order, your feet kick chaos. You've long since released your soul from then on. You're the only one among thousands of flowers. You're an expert in singing, dancing, fighting. You're the best in the 900 million world layers. Ah, the best. The number on the counter quickly jumped and reached 100 in the blink of an eye. Ting! The counter let out a clear chime. It's done, the rooster shouted. Gu Shan, there's definitely something wrong with this chicken. At this point, a line of glowing text appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face attention. Your Azure Dragon Origin Hex has evolved, but your Azure Dragon Shadow Hex has affected this chicken, so it has learned to rap. Please do not pay too much attention to this. It simply has its own stage and thoughts. As soon as Gu Shan read through it, his body had already begun to change, so he didn't have the time to think too much about it. A humanoid figure with a snake's body flew out from Gu Shan's body, circled around him twice, then entered his fists. Gu Shan suddenly felt intense pain from his fists. This pain came as quickly as it left. Before Gu Shan could even react, it had already disappeared. Gu Shan looked down at his fists again, only to see that the runes on his fists had completely disappeared without a trace. The lines of glowing text continued to appear on the war god UI. Frowny face, you've permanently lost the divine skill. Unbreakable mountain range. Using it to activate the inherited power of your fists, you've obtained the first spirit-linked fist technique. Inch Desolation. Inch Desolation. Fist of Destruction. Shatter all of the enemy's defensive techniques. This punch is guaranteed to hit. Activation requirement. Your first punch must hit the target in order to activate this spirit-linked fist technique. Attention! As you progress on the path of fist techniques, you will gradually awaken all of your inherited spirit-linked fist techniques. Please continue to work hard. Gu Shan quickly skimmed through. Shatter all defensive techniques with a single punch? This is a very valuable fist technique, but the activation requirement is to hit the target first. Gu Shan thought of something. He recalled another fist technique that he knew. Martial Thaumaturgy, Divine Skill Skyfall. Skyfall, an attack that contains 30 times the power, shattering the sky and splitting the earth, guaranteed to hit. Alright, if I want my first punch to hit the target, I'll just use Skyfall. Gu Shan thought. I have the Azure Dragon Origin Hex, the Divine Skill Skyfall, and now I've even inherited the Spirit-linked fist technique, Inch Desolation. Hex immobilizes the target, Skyfall is guaranteed to hit. Inch desolation can shatter all defensive techniques. At this rate, wouldn't I become a true fist master? Suddenly, he sensed something, put the colorful rooster that had fallen asleep back into his thought sea, and looked at the door of the secret room. The Patriarch and Zhao Qiong were leading a large group of people in. The Patriarch had an indescribably complicated expression on his face. The elders and clan heads behind him also had the same expression. They were all looking at Gu Qingshan. Such a child actually managed to gain the favor of the school of Shanghai. This was a rare opportunity, even in the entire Eastern Desolate Grotto. Li San, I ask you, are you willing to join the school of Shanghai to cultivate? The Patriarch asked directly. Sir Patriarch, my lifelong wish is to serve the clan, Gu Qingshan emotionally replied. The Patriarch froze. This child, what do you want me to say? Am I supposed to say that I've received enough wealth to rebuild the clan, so I'm going to sell you off? The Patriarch opened his mouth, then hesitantly said, the school of Shanghai is a decent place. You should properly cultivate there. I hope that one day, when you return, you'll be able to serve the clan well with that. He didn't bother asking whether Gu Qingshan was willing or not, and had already decided on this matter. I have to go to another school to study? Is it a school exchange or a slave contract? Gu Qingshan asked. The so-called school exchange was a rule of the tomb of myriad beasts. If a school's member were to go out to study, all expenses would have to be paid for by the school without exception. For a school, you can't just throw them out and ignore them. If that's the case, they wouldn't be returning to serve you, but to destroy you instead. A slave contract or something like that would make them a slave. But since Zhao Qiong was willing to sacrifice herself to save a city that she had nothing to do with, she naturally wouldn't treat Gu Qingshan like that. What are you talking about, Li San? Of course it's a school exchange. Sure enough, Zhao Qiong confirmed it. The patriarchs and elders of the school of Fei Yu all went silent. That's right. Li San was the one who managed to form a spirit link with a piece of scale that no one else had managed to successfully form, a glory of the school. If they threw him out without giving him anything, wouldn't that be the same as throwing him out as a slave? If that's the case, what face would the school have left? The patriarch took a deep breath, then squeezed out a smile. That's right, of course it's a school exchange. Li San, don't worry. All of your expenses will be paid for by the clan. Gu Qingshan appeared regretful. He lowered his head and said with a dejected expression, if that's the case, I can only leave my home and cultivate in another school. Chapter 1300. The Barren Canal. The Dock. Senior Zhao. Here, Zhao Qiong received the ice cream from Gu Qingshan's hand and said, Thank you, I made you spend its only ice cream. After all, they gave me a lot of living expenses and training funds. Not to mention, Senior Zhao is 100 times richer than I am. Gu Qingshan ate the ice cream in her hand and mumbled. Zhao Qiong shook her head. Whether it's for you or for that piece of scale, both were paid in advance from the school of Shanghai. I have to report and prove that the money was well spent when I return. In truth, I don't have that much money myself. Is that so? Then I'll be the one to treat you to ice cream from now on. Gu Qingshan acted like a nouveau riche. Zhao Qiong smiled. The two of them ate their ice cream while enjoying the scenery of the underground canal. 3 days ago, they had already left the school of Fei Yu and headed towards the barren canal several thousand miles away. This river was the only way to connect the Western Sea Grotto and Eastern Desolate Grotto. At this point, they were waiting for a ship. Gu Qingshan had also asked Zhao Qiong why they didn't just teleport back. Zhao Qiong gave him an answer that didn't make her feel good. In truth, with her strength, teleporting people back was already her limit. Even if she tried her best, she would only be able to teleport the piece of scale back. Zhao Qiong would most likely need to cultivate for a few more years to be able to teleport 2 living people back. However, due to Li San's matter and the fact that the piece of scale from the school of Fei Yu had finally shown its effects, someone should have come to pick them up after she reported it. As for why no one came to pick her and Gu Qingshan up in the end, she didn't know either. Gu Qingshan was speechless. After eating the ice cream for a while, Gu Shan couldn't help but ask, Senior Zhao, what exactly are you responsible for in the school of Shanghai? Zhao Qiong replied, I'm a scripture writer. I've obtained the highest authority to record bones, specifically traveling the 8 grottos of this world in search of and research bones, recording their types, characteristics, and abilities. Gu Shan nodded and said, it sounds interesting, but it should be very tiring. Although it's hard, it's also very meaningful. Zhao Qiong smiled and said, there are too many different types of bones, each of them with a wide variety of different types, as well as various types of spirit-linking powers. That's why I want to clearly understand the power of all bones and compile a bone scripture for future generations of bone masters. Sister Zhao's ambition is quite impressive. Gu Shan praised. Without a doubt, Zhao Qiong could be considered a high-level researcher in the technological world. Then, apart from the researchers, what were the other people in the School of Mountains Sea responsible for? For example, that sword saint and that woman. This pair of brother and sister exuded the aura of Jianghu. One look, and you could tell that they weren't cut out for research. Li San. While Gu Shan was thinking, Zhao Qiong called out to him. You should have a name now. When you enter the sect, it will sound better. Let me think. Gu Shan thought for a few moments, then couldn't help but become serious. I'm very useless when it comes to naming myself. It's already strange enough that the organization's name is Can't Think of It, so I'll have to think of a name for myself. Sister Zhao, I can't think of anything, just call me Li San. It sounds a bit more intimate, Gu Shan said in a pained tone. Suddenly, a female voice resounded from next to them. How lazy. You're just a kid. Why didn't you seriously think of a name? The two of them turned to look. A woman with a fan in her hand was sitting on the chair behind them, looking very lazy. Zhao Qiong was shocked and hurriedly stood up to greet her. Your Excellency, Painted Bone Serenity. I didn't notice your presence, my apologies. The woman holding the fan had a spirited expression and a slender figure, but as she sat there, she exuded a sense of frivolous wildness. She casually waved the fan in her hand and said, It's fine. I've actually just arrived as well. Originally, the school ordered me to bring you back, but I want to play with a few sisters for a few days, so I came back to bring you back. Please don't tell anyone. Yes, Your Excellency, Zhao Qiong replied with a stern expression. Painted Bone Serenity then turned to Gu Shan and said, You're Li San. How about I call you Li San Lang? Li Shan Lang. Gu Shan asked in surprise. Seeing his strange expression, Painted Bone Serenity emphasized, Ranked 3rd, Longjuan's Lang. That's not a name. It should be a family ranking or nickname, Gu Shan replied. Our school of Shanghai has 2 combatants with the surname Li. Both of them renowned throughout the 8 grottos and respected by the world, so it's already quite good for you to be ranked 3rd. Normally, everyone calls you Li San Lang, so I'll name you Li Qiu Shan. What do you think? Painted Bone Serenity raised her eyebrows and asked. She looked at the ice cream in their hands. She had actually arrived a long time ago, watching from afar as Gu Shan went to buy some ice cream and gave it to Zhao Qiong, then heard their conversation. She even went to investigate the school of Fei Yu's young master Zhang and learn the details. Who would have thought that this Li San had witnessed the war between the wraiths and monsters? Not only did he survive until the very end, he even managed to save his master. More importantly, his spirit link scale had already been sent back, causing a huge commotion. There were countless spirit-linked artifacts scattered throughout the 8 grottos of the world from the Great Tomb, so no one could imagine that a piece of scale from a backwater village would trigger an unprecedented apocalypse. That piece of scale had already been tested many times. Each time the result was shocking. Some even said that the school of Shanghai would finally welcome a spirit-linked fifth saint after a few dozen years. That is, if this brat doesn't die prematurely. After learning about this, Painted Bone's Serenity became even more cautious and observed him from afar for a while. For the past few days, this brat had been cooking tea and serving Zhao Qiong with utmost care. Not a single part of him was lacking in propriety and was pleasing to the eye. It wasn't until now that Painted Bone's Serenity suddenly had a thought and came up to meet him. Zhao Qiong naturally didn't know anything about it, and simply kept signaling Gu Qingshan with her eyes. Gu Qingshan understood. In truth, he didn't really care about an alias, so after receiving Zhao Qiong's hint, he said, "Then I'll be called Li Qiushan," Painted Bone Serenity replied. "That's more like it. Wait here. There's a recorded apocalypse 700 miles to the south. I'll deal with it first. Then we'll leave." After saying so, with a ho, she disappeared. Zhao Qiong sighed in relief and appeared happy. Li San Lang, congratulations," Gu Qingshan asked. "Senior Zhao, what's the matter?" Zhao Qiong quickly explained. "Our school of Shanghai has two combatants with the surname Li, namely Thousand Saints Blade Venerate Li Chundao and Painted Bones Serenity Li Qiuyu. The fact that she took a liking to you and named you Li Qiushan means that she holds you in high regard." Zhao Qiong held his hand and spoke happily for him. "Don't worry. Although the two siblings are sometimes aloof, they are extremely loyal and have never harbored any ill intentions. Both of them are heroes that we all look up to. You need to cultivate well from now on. Don't waste this opportunity." Hearing that, Gu Qingshan froze. Why did she take a liking to me? It's probably because of that scale. However, according to Zhao Qiong, these two people are a bit aloof, and from what I've seen of them, they're also the type of people who do things according to their nature. Their statuses are also very high, so they wouldn't try to curry favor with a young man who hasn't matured yet just because of scale. Thinking about it, the reason why no one from the school had contacted Zhao Qiong during this period of time was most likely because that Painted Bones Serenity Li Qiu, you had been secretly observing me. I'm just a young man without a wife. Why would she take a liking to me? Gu Qingshan was a bit confused. In truth, he didn't know that he had gone through countless trials and tribulations in his life. Never mind fighting in battle. Even his words and actions, his cooking, his actions were all different from a norm. Even if he was pretending to be a 14 to 15-year-old young man and had a natural acting skill, this foundation would always inadvertently leak out, unable to be explained or explained clearly, which would make anyone who saw him feel that he was outstanding. This was the reason why Painted Bone Serenity was interested in him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.